on Thursday, there's an insane person who is going to come out with some sort of accusation about me. It will likely involve an accusation of spousal and child physical abuse, something I do not do and never would.
And for every sack of garbage out there that says that I am somehow a danger to my wife and children, you will never, ever see even a complaint of domestic abuse from me. Not once. I'll never lie to you, because it's not in who I am.
On Thursday.
Alrighty, how's it going, chat? We had a fun week, except I did not, because I went outside for approximately 5 minutes, and now my skin is toasted. You can see here, it's still burnt. So, you know, send in those chats. Help me buy some new skin. I'm supposed to film something on Monday and Tuesday, so I'm hoping that it'll go back to normal before then. We'll see. We'll see. But we had a bit of, yes, I'm cooked. I'm cooked, chat. As the kids say these days, I'm cooked. But it's getting better. It's getting better. At least I hope so. So it was sort of an interesting week in the Rekieta-verse. Nick has continued to seethe. He's continued to self-snitch. And we were all looking forward to... God damn it. We were all looking forward to the Keanu and Hoffman interview, which for many of us was an absolute letdown, perhaps the blunder of the century. And this is not because they did not give out some good information. In fact, there was some gems in the interview. The problem is that they promised the world and didn't really deliver on it, which left a lot of people frustrated, along with a lot of people being frustrated at Keanu's management of the show, taking 4 hours to get through what essentially could have been a Twitter post. And the tension was high, you might say, between Keanu and Hoffman. Some people were I was kind of wondering, honestly, why he wanted to go on Keanu's show. And the moment that it was actually announced it was going to be on Keanu's show, I kind of thought that maybe it's not going to be a nothing burger. But it was very funny because once again it proved that if Nick just shuts up, everything will be better for him. Because he did leave with this big allegation. Where is it? Hold on a second. In the lead up to trying to get ahead of the story, Nick said in Melton's chat, they are likely going to claim that I choke slammed my son in the lobby of a chiropractor. I know this because our former nanny tried this allegation before and the CPS found no merit to it. I'm sure you've all seen this already, at least this comment, and because most people, it's like the talk of the town, obviously, in this ongoing story. Why would you say this? Why would you say this? Nick was convinced that this is what they were going to lead with. It seems that Nick is panicked. He thinks that people have been talking to certain people. It seems like he thinks that everyone's been talking to the nanny. And in fact, people have DM'd me and asked me, have I spoken to her as well? Which I have not. I'll just come out and say I've never spoken to her. But apparently she's very nice. So Nick thought that this would be the get ahead of the story, try and diffuse the situation early, which was very funny because they didn't even go anywhere near this allegation. And once again, it just proves that your biggest enemy is yourself in all of this. We also had a couple of interesting things. We've had some new filings in the Montagraph case, as well as another new filing with Hardin, who is now suing Minnesota in what I think is actually a pretty good argument. Now, the Monty one, I don't think is a good argument, but that's because it's from Nick's lawyers. We'll get through this in time. Then we're going to go through and actually see what Gabe and Keanu also said, as well as we might check out some Nick seethe. He's been seething the last couple of days against Kurt, which is very funny because Kurt's just living his best life, making friends and getting better numbers than Nick, which is very embarrassing because Nick has been talking about how he's a social media expert and he's able to, you know, make channels and break channels, but he can't even seem to make it for himself. And in fact, he dipped under 1,000 live viewers, well, average viewers for the first time, I think, in, well, not quite the first time, but it's becoming the new normal. In fact, his maximum was only, I believe, 1,014. Very sad for a man with 400,000 subscribers, although he did lose another 1,000 this week, as per usual. And that was the funniest thing for me for the Keanu interview, is that Keanu tipped up at over like 2,000. So it was also kind of funny because she kind of blew an opportunity, I think, there for a lot of people. But before the show started, Iram gifted 20,000 RDR saying it's the Baldo Bluefinger with a choke slam. Do you guys believe this story? So this is the allegation that apparently Shaney had brought against Nick. Now, I think that this is absolutely true, but not like choke slam. I believe what happened is that Nick held up his son, like pushed him against the wall and held his collar or something, you know, like this against the wall while he was like yelling at him or something. That's what I think probably happened. And this is how Nick is trying to make it sound like it's an absolute ridiculous story. Although it doesn't surprise me if we find out that Nick was indeed a violent man. Emu Warrior says, "G'day, Josh." Well, thank you very much. Member for 32 months. Holy crap, that must be one of the longest members in the entire channel. Much appreciated. It is quite a random thing to say. So let's where do we want to go through these things? So we'll go back. We'll do the Monty stuff first. The Monty stuff will be pretty quick. There's some other funny stuff as well, but we'll do the Monty stuff first. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the documents. This is quite a big one, actually. I believe it's something like 30 pages. So this is a new filing from Nick's lawyer in the Steve Quest, aka Montegraph case, which is a defamation case. Now, recently, if you're unaware, Hardin, who is the Kiwi Farms lawyer, and I believe also Nick introduced Null to Hardin, which is very funny, has now started to represent Montegraph. And there's been a change in Minnesota. And like I said, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. If you want the in-depth for this one, definitely check out a friend of the show, Potentially Criminals channel, Sean, as we like to call him. He did a stream on this, I believe, on his Legal Thursdays, and he goes through all of the documents. There are some funny things in this, but to kind of catch you up if you're not aware of it, Montegraph is kind of a weird guy, and I'll be honest, I thought he was a pretty weird guy when I first saw him too. I said some mean things about him, but it seems like we're all too hard on him, and now it's very funny to see him coming out against Nick, and standing up for his name. But he had some weird stuff on the internet. Okay, there's some very, very weird stuff, and he was going up against a guy called Mr. Medica, who's very popular, Jim. Internet aristocrat, many people know him, and he's somewhat of one of Nick's e-daddies. So my main what I believe is the case is that Nick went after Montegraph to make Daddy Jim happy. I absolutely believe that's what happened, because Montegraph was initially going after Jim, and he gave him, like, I believe it was a DMCA request, and you can use this to get someone's real name. It's a very malicious tactic that some people sometimes use. But then one thing you can do is you can, instead of giving your real name in response to a DMCA request, you can give a lawyer's name. And I believe this is what Jim did. He gave Nick as his lawyer, and this was what the thing that Nick was doing at the time. He was kind of like the internet lawman in the sector. He was talking with Andy Warski and Tonka and all that, and Ralph and everything. That's kind of where his channel was like a wee small channel, like it's becoming again today. But anyway, Nick successfully became a magnet for all of Montegraph's attention, and he started to yell at him and defame him and say all these awful things about Montegraph. And there was a very funny, there's actually in the filings, I believe. I think it's here it is. He says right here, this is Nick's words. Clip this all you want. Sue me if you want. Go ahead and sue me, says Sued Man. Anyway, so that's kind of a bit of a backstory on this lawsuit. Now, if you were following Nick for a long time, you'll also remember that the SLAP, the Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation, was a big thing in the Vic Mignogna lawsuit as well. Now, Minnesota does not have a SLAP law. It does now, but it didn't at the time of this lawsuit. Now, what a SLAP is basically it's the use of lawfare to try and silence your opponent. So like Nick is talking about how Montegraph's a weirdo. Montegraph sues him to get him to stop talking, rather than clear up the very real defamation that Nick absolutely defamed Montegraph. But there wasn't. That's what it is. It's just to stop public participation using lawfare. So Minnesota did not have one of these. Initially, I believe they tried to sue in Colorado, which did, but that got venue shifted to Minnesota. And just recently, Minnesota enacted a version of this SLAP. Minnesota adopts the Uniform Public Expression Protection Act as anti-SLAP law. Effective May 25th, Minnesota law adopted the Uniform Public Expression Protection Act to help journalists and public against meritless lawsuits and prevent which are meant to prevent the exercise of their First Amendment rights, and it was signed by Tim Waltz. So Nick has talked a lot, I think, about slap suits, but now he's going to try and use this against his new opponent. Well, I guess it's not a new opponent. This has been going on for a couple of years, which is probably going to work in Nick's to Nick's detriment, really, because there's a problem. There's a problem with this, and they've basically just shoved as much information as possible as they could. It's like 200, 300 pages or something. And this is a monster. This is a monster of a document. And then all the supporting documents as well. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all of it. There are some funny parts. I'll show a couple of the funny parts here, actually. If you search for Kiwi, a lot of his links actually come from the Kiwi farms. So despite having an ongoing battle with the Kiwi farms, Nick is very happy to use them. And also, if you search for Alyssa, see Alyssa clips, and it's very rude. They didn't capitalize Alyssa's first name. It seems like a little bit of a sloppy behavior from a very expensive lawyer. But see Alyssa clips in the Montagraph introduce himself to potentially create. Like, sure, there you go. So Nick very happy to use the farms and very happy to quote Alyssa clips as a reputable source when it does serve him. Now, the problem with this, and the reason I'm not going to go through all of this, apart from look for a couple of funny details, is that if you look at this section in the Office of the Revisitor of Statutes, in the 554.19 Savings Clause, sections 554 and from 7 to 19, do not affect a cause of action asserted before May 25th, 2024, which would mean, since I believe Nick's lawsuit began in like 2021 or 2022, this does not apply. So this entire filing, in my opinion, is a waste of time. I think that all really Harding needs to do, and like, I'm not an expert on the law. I'm not even a layman at the law. I know nothing about the law. I'm just a weirdo commenting on things on the internet. It seems to me that all Harding has to do is point out this one little thing, that this lawsuit predates this new anti-slap law in Minnesota. Now, some people have. There's two theories about this, is what I've seen, and that is that one, this is just a document that is meant to waste the court's time and specifically rack up the bill. Of course, Nick has hired Mark Rendaza, very expensive, I think the premier First Amendment lawyer in America. And allegedly the bill is over $200,000. I think something like $300,000 and $80,000 was the new estimate. And if Montagraph loses his case, he would be ordered to pay the fees. And in fact, they say that at the bottom, I believe. They say in his conclusions, for the foregoing reasons, defendant requires the court to grant the anti-slap motion pursuant to Minnesota statute, dismiss all claims asserted with prejudice, and award defendant their costs and reasonable attorney's fees under the Minnesota statute. So yeah, it looks like this is, well, I mean, you have to take every chance you can, right? So it makes sense that he would file this, but it just seems like a waste of time. And like I said, to kind of rack up the bill. There's a second theory about this, and that is that because Harding joined the lawsuit recently, they asked for an extension on their discovery request. And this is because like Harding needed to get caught up. And I think it was like a 60-day extension. And they used this extension to try and argue that in fact their lawsuit is inside the time frame of after May 24th, which doesn't make sense to me, because anytime you get a new lawyer on a case, of course they're going to need to get caught up, and everyone agreed to this. So either it's one, they're trying to waste time, and I guess you can vote on this. One, if you think they're trying to waste time and rack up the bill, or two, if Nick is trying to use his special little sneaky tactics to once again beat the system, and even though he's never really beaten the system at all. I'm not sure. I think this is a waste of time, and I think it's going to be dismissed, but you'll have to wait and see. Of course, Montagraph does have his GoFundMe, which you can support if you want to help out the Umbrella Man, because that's actually kind of a funny little detail in this, is that, let's see, if you look in the introduction, it says, amongst plaintiff's works is a video entitled Little Piggy and the Umbrella Man. Now, it's not Tug, not the, that umbrella guy? Yeah, it's that umbrella guy, right? Or the umbrella guy? It's not Tug. But Montagraph also at one point argued that he was the original Umbrella Man when Tug was being very popular during the Johnny Depp case. Kind of a fun little thing. Is Nick trying to use magic words? That may be the case. That may be the case. But like I said, for an in-depth breakdown of this document, you can check out Potentially Criminal. What were the other funny parts in this document that we, well, not we, but some people found, mostly the farmers. Let's see, this is a nice little excerpt from it. As Nick explains within the first minute of his video, he offered his self-described pretentious opinion while drinking heavily, and in quotation, well, in brackets, there's a bottle of 15-year-old Balmore single malt. Yes, he needs to tell the court that he's a appreciator of the finest, expensive whiskeys. What a stupid detail. Like, what a waste of space. Like, literally a waste of the text. You don't need to say that you're drinking heavily, especially the 15-year-old Balmore. I think that's like a $200 bottle of whiskey, isn't it? Hold on, let me check on this. I haven't done a night stream in a while for me, so I kind of want to see. 16-year-old Balmore. Price. It looks good. I don't think I've ever had one. How much does it cost? It's like $70 to $500. Shit. Have you guys tried this one? I don't know. All right. That was a pretty funny one. What is this? They have a literal mention of goatsy. Yes, goatsy has made it into a legal document. Goatsy is an internet meme of sexual nature that involves an image of a man with a stretched anus. Much like Nick's anus is going to look like after all this lawsuit's done, I believe. Defendant's counsel can supplement the record in the off chance to the court or plaintiff. Let me see. This is a little cheeky one they've got in there. Let's see. After seeing the video, this is in regards to the melon fucking video that it's being called. After seeing the video, I became convinced that Quest did indeed have sex with a melon. Upon closer inspection, though, it appears that he was fingering a honeydew melon. I thought it was like a rock melon, but okay. Rather than a watermelon. I apologize for this error. So this kind of makes me think that Nick wrote this. He's trying to throw his funny stuff in it. I don't think it's very funny. It's like, oh, we got him. It wasn't a watermelon. It was a cantaloupe. Very cheeky, Nick. There was also like just a sheer amount of documents. Like it's just like so much. And they just uploaded it like just this week. So I couldn't go through all of this. It seemed like a bit of nonsense for me. All right. Now, one other thing. I think it was mentioned in Super Chat as well. But Nick, very happy to quote Alyssa Clips as a reputable source for his lawsuit when he claims that Alyssa Clips is clipping him out of context. He says, the clip where I talk about pregnancy being hard on a woman's body, she edited out the part where I specifically said it didn't apply to Lady R, who was sexier than the day I married her. Nick, we all know you called your wife disgusting. You said her body was ruined. But in response to this, Alyssa responded saying, I have never posted that clip. You disingenuous flaggot. There you go. There was also something else about. There was also another funny comment I saw on this one. You can't obfuscate something if a mirror can reveal it. Mirrors would mirror the obfuscation along with the image. Kind of how mirrors work. Alyssa Clips is garbage and belongs in the dumpster. Did the mirror obfuscate Kayla's ruined body? I'm sorry, that was just funny. I had to include that. All right. So Nicky boy had we got a fit check of this. Well, I'll read these super chats as well. We'll move on to the next segment of the set. Fallen Hero gifted 1 membership. Thank you very much. Jefferson MC Post says, glad you're streaming, Mr. Lobsterman. Thank you. It's very brave of me, I know, to come online while I skin is all. While I'm so going through these health issues, you know. This is another detail, actually, is Nick took days off during this week because he's also had a health scare. At least that's what he said. He said there was some sort of emergency doctor's appointment. I think the actual doctor's appointment was he was having anxiety panic attacks because he thought that he was about to be exposed. And then he came back wearing a suit. He's literally trying to impress people with his good boy attire. Although it seems like... Is this a dirty suit? Are these stains? Like, what is going... Like, do you guys see this? We're going to bring this into the crime lab for a second. Hold on a second. Do you guys see this? I mean, is it like suede or something? Is it like cum stains? Like unironically? Like what is, do you guys see this, right? I'm not having a stroke, am I? There's like here, there's like this like weird coloration, like here, like a splooge mark. And around here too. He's got these big sploogey shoulders. Like, do you guys see this? It's coke dust. I mean, it may be. I mean, like, this is like when I walk, because I kind of have a jacket like this as well. And like when I walk past like a signpost with like paint on it or something, sometimes you brush your shoulder against it, and you get like that white dust all over it. That's what it looks like. Kind of looks like fungus. I don't know. But whatever it is, this photo has convinced me that Nick is straight because a gay man wouldn't dress like this. I'm sorry. Can we get a fit check? What do we rate this? I think this looks awful. I don't know. There's something about this. I think it's the shirt. If this was a white shirt, I think I could live with it. But there's something so bad about this suit. I don't know. It's just, he's also wearing a tie with like a little American flag on it. You can't see. He was very happy to show that off, though. I guess he's trying to be Billy Mitchell or something. Now that he's seen the King of Kong beat Carl Jobst or whatever. Drywall dust. That's a steel-toe man goo. It's shiny parts. Try going above 720. Yeah, maybe it's the light. I mean, maybe it is the lighting. I don't know. It looks weird to me, is all I'm saying. But I would rank this as not a good fit check. I think this shirt does not match. There's no coordination here at all. Like this light green. What are you doing? What are you doing? He needs to ask Legal Mindset for some advice on his suits or something, I think. But anyway, we'll get back on track, shall we? Janita says, happy weekend. Thank you very much. Yes, it's very rare to get a Saturday stream, but there'll be another stream tomorrow, actually. Approximately 10 to 11 hours from now, I'll be streaming what may be the big day of the protests. And we'll be doing the schizo cam with my 4 multicams, and we'll be watching the streets of LA, New York, and Chicago, and Texas, I suppose. And maybe even watch the battle that's going on over in between Iran and Israel. That'll be a morning stream. That'll probably be the last stream, actually, for a week or so, because I'm going up to Tokyo. But thank you. So I'm trying to get this stuff in before then. Let me see. Drexkin says, for that boring Nothing Burger interview, all Nick needed to do was take the rare win and the nose for the nose and was just to shut up. Yeah, like, honestly, if he just shut up, and funny enough, Aaron actually advised him to shut up. He said, just shut up, Nick. Just shut up. He would have I think this unironically would have been a W for Nick if he had not exposed the allegation that he chokeslammed his own son. Which is, I mean, it's oddly specific, as people have been saying. Scarebro says, how's it going, bro? Says, but I heard Alyssa maliciously edits her clips to get our wife to divorce Nick. Yes, that is that's something I forgot to include today, actually. I completely forgot that there was another segment I was going to do. I don't think we'll have time, though. So maybe we'll talk about it another time. Where Nick acclaimed that Alyssa Clips was a kidnapper. And what he meant by that, because I heard that, I was like, what the hell is he talking about? And allegedly it's because there was that, is it Sophie Long, I think? Her dad tried to take her away to save her, right? And Nick was interviewing him and supporting him. And then he's saying that, like, him and Alyssa are an item or something, and that she assists. I don't know. It sounds like a mad fantasy. Maybe Alyssa did help her, but so did he by giving him a platform. But now it's like just the way he lies, right? Like he always does the bulk of everything. He's like, well, I platformed you. I gave you this voice. I told your stories to the world. But it's Alyssa. Alyssa's the bad guy. But I need to do more research on that one. But it seems like that is, yeah, like Sophie took her father to Mexico. Yeah. I wasn't too into that case, but Nick completely disregarded the fact that he was begging that man to get an interview. And then he did interview him on his channel. But Alyssa's the bad guy. Although I hear Alyssa's out of the hospital, so I hope she's recovering soon. Waiting on those test results, obviously. Also, Scarebro with another 5. He says, only the best lawyer for Bob and Celeste's baby boy. He's delicate and sensitive, still wet nursing, don't you know? I mean, they did find Celeste's pills in his room. That's a strange little detail that we forgot about. Read that one. Seekalova with a 10 says, Keanu has no idea how to stream. No surprise, Gabe Tard wrangled her. Her April expose is bad too. Even if Gabe showed the body cam, the stream would still blow. Gabe's mistake is to stream with Keanu. I don't know why he chose Keanu. Like, was he shopping around and that's the only person that would take the story? Because I thought that he was friends with the Kino Casino. He thought he would have gone to them or something. But maybe they didn't want to do it, or maybe people were saying that because Keanu had this big W over Rekieta, it would be a big show. And it was a big show. I mean, I think they maxed out at like 2.2K. Which is numbers that Nick can only dream about. He hasn't seen a 2.2K stream in over, I think, since his return, actually, at all. It's going down. Let me see. Scarebro also says, camo pattern jacket, Nick is now legal Smeagol. I honestly think he's wearing, like, he said that he's wearing the suit because he went to see a doctor or something, which doesn't make sense to me. Like, do people dress up to go see the doctor? Isn't that like something that maybe people did in the 50s? I don't know. It seems weird, funny and weird to me. I think, like, honestly, he's just wearing it to try and give a better public image because he thinks that maybe he'll be more professional. But the problem is he spends like 50 hours a week looking at Kurt's cooking videos. And he claimed he couldn't stream because he had something important to do. But then he's just in Melton's chat all day. And I will get to it maybe a little bit later on. But, like, it's really telling to me that Nick was watching Keanu's stream at all. because if Keanu had nothing, and Nick said they have nothing, this is the only allegation is going to be with the former nanny stuff that was disproven by Nick would allegedly say. Why would he be watching it unless he had to know what they had found? If there was nothing to find, who gives a shit? Why watch it? But he was in there. He was seething in chat, responding every second. It was so funny because they were ignoring him. He can't even get any attention. He was even dropping super chats, and I think they didn't even read them to the end. But I mean, Keanu made a lot of money from it, so I guess it's kind of a Keanu W, really. It's kind of funny as well. There's also like a side story going up from this where like Gabe and Keanu are now snaking each other because of their fallout. It's like Tweedledee, Tweedledum, like bonging each other's heads together or something. But we'll get to that when we get to the Keanu section. But let me see. Drexen also says that suit looks like it was on the floor and stepped on. Yeah, that's what it looks like, right? Let me see. Pod Lucky with a 200 check kronas, I think. Alyssa posted old clips of Rekieta is the most damaging thing that happened to him this week. He looks so pathetic now. It does make me sad a little bit when I see the old Nick, because as you know, the reason I talk about Nick is because I used to watch Nick daily. I know a lot of this old stuff and it's still interesting to me. So I can kind of, compare and contrast these different types of Nicks. Like Nick versus Nick is honestly one of the Keanu-est things I've seen. Where you have the old like when he's talking about no, don't do coke, don't step out on your wife and all that. Then like to see him today, he's like, well, I never lied, I just changed. Like changed because of the coke and all the other shit. Trucker Rob also says, let the Asia chip lady cut in line. I let this Asian chip lady cut in line at the delivery because why not? And she bought me 3 boxes of chips. That's very nice of her. Asian chip lady for the win, I guess. What am I supposed to do with 110 boxes of chips? I don't know. Like, do you guys know that chips comes in bags in Japan? Like, this is true. I got to do a slight detour before we get back to the actual content. Let me see. This is unironically. Also, I found a new coffee. Nuts Beat. Premium Special Gold Nuts Beat. Yes, I beat my coffee like it owes me money. But where is this? Like I gotta show you this. So it's gonna drive me crazy. Here it is. Pringles in a bag, mini chips. What is the point of this? I don't understand. Isn't the only point of Pringles that they come in a can? And then some genius in Japan is like, well, why don't we just put Pringles in bags like regular chips? I don't know. It drives me mad when I saw it. I was actually like thieving when I saw this bag. I'm like, what the fuck? This is worse than putting milk in bags. Anyway, sorry. That's the chip segment done. We're back to there. All right, last one before we move on to the next document. Gabe turned out to be a bigger disappointment than Nick trying to satisfy his wife and letting her get plowed by Jamaicans and the toe. Oof, that's a rough one. I think like some people have put forward the idea that Gabe likes the casino, and I do too. It's a good show. In fact, thousands of people think it's a good show, unlike Nick's show, which is now that he's dropped down to the triple digits. But I think that Gabe has the idea that like the casino and Kiwi Farms is just some sort of esoteric knowledge that only him and a very small group of people know about, which I guess is true on like a larger world like viewpoint. But it kind of seemed like he thought he was bringing this secret type of message, and he was like, "Oh, the redo of the healer." Nobody gives a shit. It's weird, yes. It's weird that Nick talks about it, but it's not gonna destroy him. It's not the magic bullet, as it were. And that's one thing I said last week, actually, is like, I hope that's not all they have. Although, fortunately, they did have more. I guess we'll summarize this a little bit because people may be curious. I think most people probably watched the interview or at least saw the clip of it. But the new allegations that came out was that Nick trapped Kayla in a corner and yelled, "Hit me," over and over again at her to try and bait her into hitting him so Nick could get her in trouble. I'm not sure if that's the reason for it, but it does bring into question the idea that... well, I mean, Nick had the black eye, right, when he was arrested, and he's like, "Well, I slipped on a dog toy, and I slipped on a dog toy, and then banged my eye against the door or something, or the sink." But now he's saying that it's because he was snorting ketamine. So the story keeps changing. I think it's because like either Kayla or someone else in the house hit him, or threw a book at him or something. There was also a new one where Nick cornered Kayla in the shower and screamed at her. Kayla panicked and bashed her head against the shower window, giving her a gash in her head and many concussive symptoms. I've actually heard a similar story before, that Nick will manipulate people and gaslight them until they start self-harming. So that was kind of surprising when I heard that. I was like, that one rang true to me when I heard it. Nick's former close friend claims Nick hit his kids in an impulsive and disciplinary way, not punching them. Something verified by multiple people. We'll get into this when we get into the Gabe stuff. And this info was, this was posted by Volbrodo on the farms, by the way. It says this info was not worth 4 fucking hours of recapping Nick's entire history and that retard or Keanu. Yeah, it could have been a much shorter show. Like, and even if they came on and said we have nothing as a joke, and then just laughed at Nick self-snitched, that would have been pretty good. But like I said, I think people were a little bit hard on both Keanu and Gabe. It was disappointing, I'm not going to lie, because Gabe said, I will report on previously undisclosed criminal allegations against Nick Rekieta. They promised the world, but they didn't deliver. That's the problem. Yeah, it could have been a treat. It could have been a tweet, Bobby. You're absolutely right. All right, so let's get into this new filing from Hardin, which I think is actually a pretty good argument. This is about 12 pages. So we'll go through it pretty quick. Then we might look at a couple memes and we'll get into the Keanu stuff. I'm a Keanu and Gabe washer. I was disappointed. I was laughing at the memes. But I mean, they did release some new information. It just wasn't worth 5 hours. I think it's very funny though that Keanu's being a little bit precious about this. Like, so she changed the name of her stream to say, I'll never get these 5 hours back, as if this wasn't like her biggest show. Because, I mean, she had like 2,200 people watching and she earned over $1,000 for 5 hours work. And she's like, well, I'm never going to get those 5 hours back. And now they're like snaking each other on Twitter, calling each other retarded and stuff. Like, it's a little bit thankless. I can see why people are upset about it. But there was some information there. Just like I said, it just wasn't delivered very well. Could have been much better. All right, so this is a new filing as of the 12th, 4 p.m. That was Friday, right? 12th was Friday? Yeah. No, Thursday, sorry. All right, so plaintiff Matthew Hardin. Matthew Hardin versus Eric Trovelson and the state of Minnesota, county of Candy-O-High. Plaintiff Matthew Hardin, by and through undersigned counsel, files this complaint against defendant Sheriff Eric Trovelson. Now, that's the guy that signed the that refused to release the body cam, and also was apparently hiding evidence. Interesting. Let me see. Eric Trovelson, in his official capacity, and the Candy-O-High County Sheriff Office, Carol Coleman in her official capacity as the record supervisor for the Candy-O-High County Sheriff Office, and Kelsey Baker in her official capacity in Candy-O-High County Administrator pursuant to Minnesota statute. Plaintiff seeks the release of improperly withheld government data under the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act, that is the MGPDA. Plaintiff states and alleges the following. Plaintiff submitted a request to defendants on May 23rd, asking for a copy of all records in the custody of their office in whatever format, electric, paper, or otherwise, pertaining to the individual Nicholas Rekieta, April Imholt, and Kayla Rekieta, dated from May 15th to the present. The next day, plaintiff submitted another request seeking particular body cam footage, dash camera footage, cruiser video footage, and other recordings depicting the execution of a search warrant at the residence of Nicholas Rekieta on May 23rd, and any other arrests or interviews of Mr. Rekieta, Kayla, and April. The information sought by plaintiff request is public information, relates to the highly interesting and controversial arrest of the local attorney in Candy-O-High County, and should have been released in full. But despite multiple items of correspondence from Mr. Hardin and his counsel, as well as opinion from the Commissioner of Administration, the defendants have released only a few records, while denying access to others either implicitly or explicitly. Now, this is a very important detail that is very funny and another example of Nick self-snitching. The photos that he showed on his stream that Lady or Mama K claim were taken on a different day, those pieces of evidence were unknown to anyone except for Nick, and I guess Kayla and April as well. The sheriff not disclosing this is, in Harding's argument, I believe this is what he's going to come and say, is, well, it's illegal because it's public information that the list of evidence should have been disclosed. But they hid this. So what else have they been hiding is a question that we need to ask. Let me see. Additionally, oh wait, do I read this part? Defendants have released only a few records while denying access to others. Yes, I did read that. Additionally, defendants have also shifted their explanations for withholding records, making it difficult or impossible for plaintiff to intelligently challenge the defendants' continuing evolving narratives. After the defendant were put on notice on the instant suit would be forthcoming, the defendant sought to correct the court records in a way that would impair Mr. Harding's substantial rights under the MGPDA without providing Mr. Harding any opportunity to be heard or to challenge the purported correction. Against this backdrop, Mr. Harding has no choice but to file this claim. I think I need to reset my chat. Hold on a second. Did I get effed out? I need to check. My internet's been pretty sketchy lately. So now this is a very I'm very interested in this one actually because I think that he has a good argument, unlike Nick's one. The Baldo verse will end in a murder. Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of agree. Like, I feel like that's something Aaron should look out for. Is that his life might end the same way? Hold on, I have to reset my entire console just briefly. I don't know why this keeps happening. My Firefox just like shits the bed every time I try and do this. There we go. But yeah, I kind of have my concerns that Aaron's going to end up like shot like that guy in the end of American Beauty, because that is Nick's favorite movie, and he lives his entire life vicariously through it. There we go. That looks like it's working now. There we go. Perfect. Plaintiff Matthew Hardin is an adult citizen and domicile of the state of Florida and is a licensed attorney in Minnesota and other jurisdictions. Mr. Harding possesses rights under the MGPDA, the common law right of access, and the First Amendment to obtain government documents, to petition the government, and to comment on the activities of the government. Mr. Harding also represents clients who possess the same rights as Mr. Harding's services to support their own exercise of such rights. Now, it is important to note that this is by Harding himself and not by Null of the Kiwi Farms. And I believe that Null commented on this on his show, Matty, which you can check out, which is a weekly show. And he said something interesting. He said, I believe his words were, Hardin is going to be cheeky, first time ever seen attack in a 3-pronged move. So I'm not sure what they're going to be doing here. Very curious. I'm very interested in this one. This one's going to be spicy, I think. Plaintiff Matthew. Oh wait, I wrote that up. Defendant, this is the sheriff, is the head of the Candiota County Sheriff Office and is the responsible authority within the meaning of Minnesota statute. Additionally, a 2016 police manual issued by the Candiota County Sheriff lists Tolfelson's predecessor, Dan, as the responsible authority under MGPDA. Defendant, Candiota County. I think we can skip this part, really, because this is just we know who these people are. Let's just get to the jurisdiction. We don't need the jurisdiction venue. We'll skip through this pretty quick. Let's see. Okay, here's the request. This is the interesting part. On May 23rd, Mr. Harding requested certain described correspondence by email to the record systems. Specifically, Mr. Harding requested a copy of all records in custody of your office, in whatever format, electronic, paper, or otherwise, which pertains to the following individuals: Nick, April, and Kayla. Mr. Harding specified that responsive records will be dated from May 15th, 2024 to the present. Carol responded on the May 24th saying, but she could produce only one record, a one-page incident report relating to the possible report of child neglect or abuse, Exhibit 2. Subsequently, it has become apparent from numerous sources, including from a live stream Mr. Nicholas Rekieta posted on the internet. Hold on a second. That's a big I internet. Did they put this in bold? That is a big I internet. I just noticed this. All right, that's funny. I like this. I'm not sure if Josh requested this or Harding who did this of his own volition, but that is funny. That is funny to have the big I internet in there. Nick can't even put a big E in Alyssa Clips, but they put a big I in the internet. So Rekieta posted on the internet. This is the stream where he did coping about the body cam transcript. He showed these photos. The numerous additional records responsive to Mr. Harding's May 23rd request exist and were not accounted for by Carol or any other of the defendants. Oh, that's a bit naughty on their part. On information and belief, Mr. Harding alleges that additional records which exist and which Mrs. Coleman failed to provide are not exempt from production under the MGPDA. Mr. Harding requested additional records by email to the Records Department and to Carol. Exhibit 3. This request was made on behalf of one of Mr. Harding's clients, Joshua Moon. And this is the email as stating, "Good morning. Your request has been received. I just spoke with our department head and the case is still being investigated. At this time, it is still open investigation in our office. I have also contacted our forensic staff that handles the body cam footage and received a rough estimate on what it would cost for the footage. The fee is $60 an hour and roughly would be 50 hours to go through the body cam. Yes, I remember that. That's where the sum comes from. Right? It's like, what, $6,000 or something? This fee for just the body cam is, well, it's $3,000, but there was $6,000 was raised, I suppose. This would need to be paid before it can be released. Due to the ongoing status of the case, we are unable to provide the exact release date of the body cam footage at this time. Now, Josh still has all this money in an account, and it seems like that they will release it. I mean, they're going to use the excess money, or if they can't get the body cam footage, it'll be given to some sort of charity. And I think Sean very cheekily suggested a fund called the April Fund, which is actually for Labradors, which I kind of approve of. I like that idea. But I think that Josh has suggested it should go to spousal abuse or something. Let's see. I have attached the public ICR and complaint records to Rekieta. In response, Mr. Harding immediately offered to pay the $3,000 fee referred to above. Later, on May 29th, Mrs. Coleman refused to accept payment. Now, that's a bit naughty. But also indicated that she was not denying Mr. Harding's request. Specifically, Mrs. Coleman stated, "No, stalker child, your request isn't denied. We do not accept deposits on requests. We do not need to wait. We do need to wait until the investigation is completed before we can start processing the footage. When the investigation is done, we will let you know what the exact fee would be for the footage." Exhibit 6. I'm sure it'd be over budget, right? On February 10th, Mr. Harding wrote to Mrs. Coleman to follow up on the May 28 request. Specifically, Mr. Harding stated, "I write to review the request below. My understanding is that the criminal matter is now concluded with a guilty plea. Therefore, I request the body cam footage as described in the May 24 exhibit." On February 11th, Mrs. Coleman wrote back to Mr. Harding saying, "At this time, we are unable to release the body cam footage as the case is still pending in court due to the involvement of co-defendants. Once the proceedings involving the co-defendants have concluded, you may submit your new request along with signed release from all individuals captured in the footage." On May 2nd, actually, I wonder about this. So obviously, Josh would never get the signed releases from all individuals captured in the footage. Now, the government would have to censor the children. So the argument that Josh just wants to see the kids or the people on the internet just want to see his kids suffering is completely false because they would never have an opportunity to do so. But I guess this means that that they would have to also submit Nick, Kayla, and April's consent. Otherwise, their faces would be blurred. But I don't know if that is the case or not because I've definitely seen body cam. I mean, we've all seen body cam where people's faces, the defendants in such cases, are not blurred out. So I wonder how that works. Maybe it's because it happens inside his home. I'm not sure about that. I'm kind of curious about this point. But I agree that I think it's bullshit and she's lying. On May 2nd, Mr. Harding again wrote to Mrs. Coleman. Mr. Harding attached an order from the Keanu-Gabe County District Court in which the court recognized that body camera footage in the matter of State of Minnesota versus Nicholas Rekieta was public data on individuals under MGPDA and was available from the original custodian. Mr. Harding agreed again renewed his request for these records to be produced under the MGPDA and offered to pay the $3,000 fee that Mrs. Coleman previously indicated would be due for such processing. Mrs. Coleman wrote back to Harding stating the reference to Minnesota statute chapters 13.82 and 13.825 do not have a clause related to this courtroom evidence. Wait, what? She's changing. There's no G in Hardin. Is it? Oh, okay. Did I thought, it's funny because originally I had the title as Hardin, but then I added the G thinking I'd misspelled it. So my mistake there. I apologize, Mr. Hardin. I'll correct myself and I'll correct the title later. But thank you for that. Sorry. We do not have a clause related to courtroom evidence. As such, any request for BWC footage from this incident would need to be first. What does BWC mean? not the BWC. Oh dear. Oh dear. That's a well, buddy. Any such request for BWC footage from this incident would need first to have written consent from release from all non-public individuals in the video. Once that consent and releases are provided, we can move forward with the request. On May 14th, Mr. Harding submitted an advisory opinion request to the Minnesota Commissioner of Administration, pointing out the various ways in which Mrs. Coleman and the Keanu County Sheriff had not complied with the MGPDA, Exhibit 11th. On May 21st, the Commissioner of Admission wrote to Mr. Harding and all the Keanu County Sheriff, indicating that a prior adverse advisory opinion was now was advisory opinion was dispositive that of Mr. Harding's request, specifically the Commissioner of Administration for Mr. Harding, that the office had previously opined in advisory opinion 22003 that body camera data maintained by law enforcement agency and presented as evidence in court are classified as public data, and that the law enforcement agency does not respond appropriately when it failed to provide access to those data upon request. Individuals who are similarly situated may rely on that guidance, provided in any opinion under the conditioner, unless the commissioner states otherwise. Now, Nick absolutely submitted the body cam as evidence. They quoted it when they talked about April's Miranda rights not being given. That is a question that can only be resolved by viewing the body cam footage. So then clearly it must be evidence in the case. That would be my argument anyway. Now, Nick's argument, which is very dubious, I would believe, is that it was uploaded to the data evidence site, I think Mendez or whatever it's called, the Minnesota, what does it stand for? Minnesota Media, it's a database. They call it Mendez, whatever. I can't remember the acronym. But Nick's argument is that it was uploaded to be used as evidence if they wanted to, but they did not in fact use it. Therefore, it was never evidence, and therefore it was never going to become public in the first place. This seems pretty questionable to me, and I don't agree with it. But then I guess I am pretty biased on this one. It's part of the Zoo-spiracy. Yeah, perhaps. The Zoo-spiracy of the Zooluminati or the Zoomalati, whatever people are calling it. But I think Hardin has a pretty good argument here. And the fact that they did not release the additional information about these photos that Nick himself self-snitched twice, I guess in 1 week, or I guess it'd be 2 weeks. I think they have a pretty good case here. Like, it's definitely going to be interesting. But, well, what do you guys think? We're not through this just yet, by the way. Pause? What pause? What do you mean? What are you saying, BP? Pause? Oh, you're talking when I talked about the... Anyway, Jacob with a 50 Donkey Kong coin says, in Denmark, my local supermarket have Japanese Pringles in normal cans. It must be nice. I have to get mine in bags. Dorby with a 2 says, Nick took a baldo to the eye, causing the bruise. Perhaps that's most likely what happened. The Chergy Show says, I restreamed this interview thinking it would be trash. I didn't know it would be 5 hours of torture. That's the thing, is because I was actually streaming, just watching the riots in LA while Keanu was going, because I just had a thought that it wasn't going to be worth watching at the first. But thankfully, Alyssa clipped down the good parts of it. The entire 5 hours is condensed down to 20 minutes. They will watch at 1.5 speed. So we'll get through it real quick. But yeah, there was a little bit of stuff in there, but the rest of it was kind of a waste of time. But I mean, apart from making Nick see, which was very funny, there's also a couple of other details that we'll talk about as well. But like I said, we'll get to it. Seagulota with a Singaporean 5 says, Keanu might have 2K live viewers, but that number halved as the stream plotted on. Rekieta won't see 2K views either, but neither will Keanu again. Well, until the next time Nick screams at her, maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Now, Keanu kind of blue-balled people at the end of that as well, actually, because there is... oh, by the way, we've got to turn on the cats, don't we? Sorry, I forgot. There we go. It's a Baldo stream, so we need the cats. Also, we hit the goal, and I can afford new skin this week, which is nice. Like, I got this like permanent V-neck like cut burnt into me now. Like, look at this. It's bad, bros. I went out in the sun for approximately 5 minutes to put out my garbage, and I'm never going outside again. Until I get this new skin transplant that now we've raised money for. It was a cloudy day too. It was a fucking cloudy day. And now I'm red. I'm burnt. Oh, yes. And sorry, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent before we go back to this, because it's as we do. I keep seeing some funny things. Wait, where did I post this? I must have, hold on a second. Yeah, BP actually can tan, unlike me. I just get red and die. Which is very sad, very sad. Like, hold on a second. I have to find this. It'll only take me a second or like 5 minutes or something. Oh, god damn it. Where is this? I'll find it later. It's not that funny. I suppose. But I did see a sign the other day that said tax-free. That's what I was looking for. Also, I saw a Jamaican pavilion when I went to a place. There was no meanness or everyone's happy. It was great. He's white. Yes, indeed. All right. On May 23rd, the Commissioner of Administration Staff wrote to Mr. Harding indicating that they had spoken with the Kandiyohi County Sheriff Office the previous day to advise him of his regarding legal obligations. Mr. Harding, undersigned counsel of record, submitted a letter to the sheriff and the county attorney by electronic mail. I mean, that's email. Oh, my goodness. Indicating that the suit would be filed under the MGPDA in early June if the defendants did not bring themselves into compliance with the law and the process Mr. Hardin's data requests. On May 29th, fully aware that there was an impending lawsuit and fully aware that all the relevant records were both in their custody and in the custody of the Kandiyohi County District Court, the Kandiyohi County attorney filed with the Kandiyohi District Court an agreed or consent motion to alter the digital of the district records in the underlying criminal case, State of Minnesota versus Nicholas Rekieta, in such a way that certain exhibits would be newly designated as not received. This motion was filed with the intent to strike certain exhibits from the court's records and to make them inaccessible to the requesters under the MGPDA. This is very sus how this all happened. I have my own theories about this. Basically, what happened is Hardin learned that you could access the body cam records to view if you went in person. And that's when they started sending in Josh's Angels, the 3 ladies. Although I think the third one never really got to see it. And they began to take their notes, and this is where we get the body cam transcripts from. But as soon as it found out, Nick seemed to figure this out, and then they worked very quickly to seal everything off. And then within the first 50 minutes of the court's opening, on the same day that a woman was going to verify, the third woman was going to verify the accounts, and I believe one other was going at the same time, they seal it all off. And my theory is that the prosecutor made some sort of under-the-table promise. It's like, well, of course, we won't release the body cam. We won't show the body cam provided you plead guilty, and you'll just you'll have to do some probation or something. But it wasn't on the actual. That's not something they could really offer, because as the law states, this data becomes public the moment that the court proceedings end. And me and Legal Mindset did a stream going over the actual legal statutes for this in Minnesota, and we came to the same conclusion that the data would be confidential and private until the conclusion of the trial. So it seems like Nick had bargained or bartered. Oh, also I'll show this. The line is like perfect on my arms. So I'm like, I have to wear this shirt all the time now. I think it's funny. I think it's fine. It's the first time I've been sunburned in years. Of course, it's the first time I've left my house in years. So I'm having a bit of fun. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, they can't legally do this. If it is evidence, they cannot legally just reclassify this like this. It's very, very suspect. And this is why people have suggested it's the Illuminati. I did wear sunscreen. That's the fucking thing. Never mind. Sorry, I'll stop talking about my problems. But an additional thing, a really, really suspect thing about this all is that because Harding is an interested party in this case, he would have to be notified of any of these changes. But the prosecutor sent through this email and basically said, everybody agrees that this should not be in the evidence and we should all remove it. Mr. Rekieta agrees. He consents, I consent, but there's someone they forgot to ask, and that was Mr. Harding. So they just straight up like rushed this through, which does not seem legal to me, but I guess we're going to find out. I need some aloe. Yes, thank you. I'll get right on that. I got yelled at because apparently are you supposed to keep aloe in the fridge or something? I don't know. Anyway, where were we? So these were altered in such a way that they would be newly designated as not received. This motion was filed with the intent to strike certain exhibits from the court record and to make them inaccessible to the requesters under the MGPDA and also requesters under the ordinary rules of access to judicial records. The Kandiyohi County Attorney did this without notifying Mr. Harding or his counsel or giving Mr. Harding the opportunity to be heard, and did so in an express effort to frustrate Mr. Harding access to the records. On May 30th, unaware of the full circumstances behind the consent motion of the Kandiyohi County Attorney and without hearing any arguments from Mr. Harding or anyone else, the court entered an order which purported to correct its records and indicate that certain evidence was not received through Mendez, and on that basis revoked all previously allowed public access. So that's the records that the three ladies were going to go see, and of course Lady K I think saw 2 of the videos, and I think the other one saw 1. But she never wrote. We went through those. In a previous stream. After 2 interested parties had already viewed the footage at the courthouse, and a third had scheduled a viewing. That's the third of Josh's Angels. I mean, this was an error provoked by the county. who acted on behalf of all defendants to frustrate Mr. Harding's rights under the MGPDA in a rush proceeding that of which Mr. Harding was given no advance notice. Immediately upon receiving the order correcting this court's records, Mr. Baker of the Kandiyohi County Attorney's Office sent a letter to Mr. Harding denying his request for records in the full exhibit. Not only was the order defendants obtained from the Kandiyohi County Court obtained by conclusive efforts between a nominal plaintiff, the state of Minnesota, acting through its county attorney, Shane Baker, and a nominal defendant, Mr. Rekieta, acting through his attorney, Mr. White, seeking the same outcome without providing notice to the only party that would be adversely affected by the correction. The court records defendants sought, but the order was also in excess of the court's jurisdiction. Courts simply do not have the power, even were we of the mind to use it if we had, to make what thus becomes private public again. Well, public again, whatever. And that's the Gamble versus Deutsche Bank case. Oh, how's it going, Kurt? How's it going, Kurt? Actually, I was going to talk about you today a little bit. Hold on a second. My chat's lagging for a second. There it is. So what did Nick do now? He self-snitched. Harding's filing a new case, and he spent hours seething at you. Actually, I'll do a little bit of a preview for this. Maybe you want to come on sometime. We can talk. We can take a look at this one. This is the riveting content by Nick Rekieta, a 36-minute seed session where he talks about how you don't know anything about the internet and how all your mistakes are your fault, and that's why Nick is an expert and he's smart and you're dumb. Despite the fact that over the last month, Nick has had 626,000 views, while you've had 823,000. So maybe Nick could get some tips from you or something. It seems like he's struggling over there. But yeah, how's it going? How much can a man talk about you? He literally spends about an hour a day talking about you and watching your exclusive content. He loves those cooking shows. So there we go. I think it's very funny. It's very funny to see him seethe at you because you're just like doing your party streams with like the big panels of lawyers and thousands of people. And Nick has unfortunately fallen under 1,000 live viewers for his stream. Very sad to see. But anyway, we'll get back to this. So this is the statement of claims. Let's see. Plaintiff realleges and incorporates by reference the allegations above relating to each of his MGPDA requests. The MGPDA establishes a presumption that all government data are public and are accessible by the public for inspection and copying unless there is a federal law, a state law, or temporary classification of data that provides that certain data are not public. Defendants have ignored the request in violation of the MGPDA. Plaintiff is entitled to disclosure of the requested data for several reasons. First, contrary to the false representations of both the county attorney and the defendant in the underlying case, the body cam data was presented as evidence to the court. I agree with this. Specifically, criminal defendant Nicholas Rekieta's own attorney, Mr. White, submitted the body cam footage in support of a motion to dismiss filed in the case of State of Minnesota versus Nicholas Rekieta on May 29th. Index 39. Additionally, Mr. White, on behalf of Mr. Rekieta, cited extensively to the footage in his briefing filed with the court. ID. While transcripts report to reflect that Mr. White said words to the effect that the court could get rid of that evidence, there is no bias or basis for the court to falsify its own records after they received by striking entirely certain evidence from the record. No party attempted to follow the rules that apply to remove presented evidence from the Mendez system, at least not until long after those records were submitted and relied upon in the criminal's defense briefings. Second, it has been revealed in recent days that a great body of additional responsive records exist in which the defendants never acknowledged in response to Mr. Harding's May 23rd request. Specifically, there are warrant applications which use the word Rekieta, and there are photographs the sheriff took in the executing of a search warrant at Mr. Rekieta's residence. This is the one that Nick showed on stream, but was there until now unknown of, and the state should have at least said these pieces of data existed, which they did not. Take that out. Despite this, the defendant have never acknowledged those records exist and never provided them in response to Mr. Harding's request on May 23rd. Defendants have constructively and actually denied plaintiffs access to recorded records. Defendants' denial of access were willful. Moreover, they were undertaken with the express intent to circumvent Mr. Harding's right under the MGPDA or otherwise. Plaintiff was harmed as a result of the defendant's willful violation of the MGPDA. long after Mr. Hardin had obtained access to the judicial records, which were offered as evidence. That access was suddenly revoked. Moreover, Mr. Hardin was unaware of the existence of numerous additional records which were responsive to his first request until Nicholas Rekieta, one of the subject of those records, publicly posted them online. Defendants did not even formally deny Mr. Harding's access to certain records in a way that was capable of judicial review. Instead, Mrs. Coleman simply failed to acknowledge the existence of records for a period of over a year. For these reasons, plaintiff has standing to challenge defendant's response. I think so too, don't you? Don't you? They lied. They lied about what was available. And then they refused to release it when given a court order. And then they corrected the record. This is very suspicious. Why would the prosecutor be so willing to work with the defendant? I'm very curious about that. Very, very curious about this, actually. Defendants' willful violations of the MGPD and their disregard of an opinion of the Commissioner of Administration, especially when coupled with the efforts to end run Mr. Harding's MGPDA request by seeking without any notice to correct records which needed no correction, entitles plaintiff to his costs and disbursements, including reasonable attorney's fees. Now, this is, I think Josh kind of joked about this, that because this is Mr. Harding's lawsuit and not his, if Mr. Harding wins $1 million, as Nick is so often to promise people, or not promise people, but say about people, then it goes to Harding. It doesn't go to Josh, which would be very funny. But he does wish him the best. And Nick ratted out his drug dealer, obviously. That's an interesting theory. I haven't heard of that one. I don't think so, but I guess it's not impossible. All right, let me see. Plaintiff is entitled to an immediate injunction preventing continuation of defendant's willful and continued violations of MGPDA Minnesota statutes. Let's see. Also, how much more of this we got? Let me see. 1 second. Okay, so there's a lot of evidence here that I think we've read through all of these before, so we can skip these parts because these are examples. This is just the evidence. It's examples of what was of how Nick and his lawyer, Mr. White, were using the body cam footage. So you don't need to read this part. I think there's one other part. Hold on a second. So we can skip past all this evidence, I think. Just a copy of the emails. And let me see. There's actually quite a lot. Actually, quite a lot. Looks like he's done his homework here. Very good, very good. That's right. I just wanted to go down to the bottom part here. Okay. So let's go. The prayer for relief. That's what I was looking for. Wherefore, the plaintiff respectfully prays that this court issue a declaratory judgment that the information request is public information within the meaning of MGPDA and otherwise producible under that act, and that the defendant have improperly failed to produce such information, enter a permanent injunction directing defendant to comply fully with the MGPD and to, without further delay, to furnish plaintiff to use the data at issue in this matter, subject only to legally allowable withholdings justified by sufficient identification of reasonings for withholding, grant plaintiff additional injunctive relief barring defendants from continuing practices that infringe upon plaintiff's rights, including the solicitation and use of ex parte judicial action to frustrate public access. I like the use of the word frustrate. To public access and the refusal to produce clearly public records. Accesses a civil penalty as authorized by Minnesota statute. I wonder what the civil penalty would be. Actually, Kurt, you're in chat. What would the civil penalty be? I think Nick has said that. I think Nick. I'm not sure it would be the same, but Nick implied it would be something like $15,000 to $30,000 per person per action. Is that what Harding would be looking at? Let me see. Award plaintiff fees, costs, and disbursements, including a reasonable attorney's fees, as authorized by Minnesota statutes. Order such additional relief as the court may deem just and proper. Respectfully submitted on the 12th day of June 2025. So this is an interesting one. And to be honest, I think it's a good argument. I am biased, of course, but I want to see how this one comes in. The fix is in, perhaps. Let me see. Be careful with that sunburn. As someone battling skin cancer, you don't want to go down this road. Love the protest coverage. Thank you. There will be some more protest coverage tomorrow. Yeah, I'm actually very careful typically with using sunscreen because in Australia, melanoma is such a big risk, right? And I do have a lot of moles and freckles, so it is something that I have to be concerned about. Like I said, I haven't been sunburnt in years, and I did have sunscreen. I think I applied it too slow because it was a cloudy day, and I even though on a cloudy day you can get sunburned, so I should be careful. The sun is weaker in Japan though, like in Australia and New Zealand, you get burnt in like 15 minutes. Over here, it takes like an hour or something. Amateur Ant with a 5 says, this is more of a bombshell than what happened with Gabe and Keanu. The toe should be hyping up your streams a lot more. I think it's against his own interest. I think Aaron likes my show, but I stream kind of at the same time as him. So if he hypes up my show, people won't watch his show. So and you gotta promote yourself, right? He can always watch the clips anyway. That's what I do. But I still don't get it why Aaron is such a thorn in so many people's sides. Like, I can understand not liking him. Yeah, I forgot to slip, slop, and slap. I can see why people wouldn't like Aaron, but like literally all he does is just talk about his dad stuff. Like, and I don't mean like being a father. I mean like he's like, what has Trump been doing? How's the golf this weekend? I had a beer at Stoney's. Like, I don't get it. It's not like he's out there pushing like, I don't know, like weird radical communist beliefs or something, and you got to stop him because he's eroding the fabric of society. No, he's just like a dad that likes golf and wants to call weirdos on the internet weird and, you know, talk about Trump and guns and stuff. Like, I just don't understand. What is the appeal? What is the appeal? Somebody please tell me. Aaron is a normie. Yeah, that's how I'd explain him. He's a normie who's dipped his toe into the sector a little bit. But we'll have to wait and see. All right. So we get on to what I've been calling the blunder of the century. And like I said, it's mostly because Gabe hyped this up too much. Gabe Hoffman said, on May 30th, I plan to credibly report upon closed serious criminal allegations against Rekieta. Stay tuned. When you read this statement, you're like, well, holy shit, what does he have? What the fuck does he have? And he sounds like this is such a bold, strong statement. Oh no, speak of the toe and he will appear. Oh no. But he made this really strong statement. And then he comes in and does this interview with Keanu. And we'll go through this, but we're going to go 1.25 speed. And he keeps like, he's so careful. I wonder if something got like, maybe Gabe was like, well, I better cover my bases. I don't want to get sued. He's like, well, this is not criminal. It's a tip of the iceberg sort of thing. Like, it's just like his performance was not reflective of what he promised. But I think that's the main problem. Steel Toe Morning Show. We mention you every time you go live because our stream goes down by 100 to 200 people. Sorry about that. Gotta go. Kids got me a tea time for Father's Day. Oh, happy Father's Day. It's Father's Day in Japan too, actually. Although my father is in another country where it's Father's Day in September, so I don't have to worry about that just yet. But happy Father's Day to you. Alrighty. That's just how they talk. Perhaps. All right, let's go through and see this. Actually, let me see if there's any other things that I want to say. But there's something really weird about this stream. First of all, there was 900 people waiting, which is about the same size as Nick's streams now. But this was a very, very hyped up stream, so the anticipation was very high. There were some interesting characters in the chat. Like I said, Nick was there the entire time. Because he could not look away for 5 hours. A man that is very busy, too busy to stream, and obviously spending time with his family, but he had to see every second of this stream. This is almost the funniest thing is that they forced Nick to sit there and suffer for 5 hours through both of these people with their tech issues and their boomerang and their eventual lovers squabble or whatever happened, and they started calling each other bitches and retards or whatever. It kind of devolved a little bit. But Nick was there the whole time. And why would he be there? Unless he had to know what they had. And if there was nothing that they could have, he wouldn't need to be there at all. There was a couple of other interesting characters. There was Dick Masterson and Ethan Van Sciver in the chat. And it seems like they were there to see if it was still okay to be Nick's friend. They were really worried, I think. Like, maybe Dick not so much, but EVS for sure. He's like, oh shit, I've been defending Nick. If they actually have conclusive proof that Nick is an abusive asshole, like either spousally or to his children, they're like, oh, I better watch this just in case, because if I'm not allowed to be publicly on his side anymore, I got to be there to check. A lot of people seemed like they thought that Nick was going to be finished this weekend. So it's kind of disappointing that they were so anticlimactic. But I thought that was interesting. Maybe it's nothing, but it's up to you. It's up to you to decide. What do you guys think? All right, let's go through and see what they actually said. And thank you very much to Alyssa Clips. Be sure to support Alyssa Clips on her channel. I think she has a buy me a coffee links and stuff. Well, hold on a second. I'll go to her channel. I had this in my thing before for a previous one because she's got some health scares at the moment. Buymeacoffee.com/Alyssa Clips. There you go. Or on locals, Alyssa Clips locals, or PayPal Alyssa Clips at YouTube. There you go. Big friend of the show and also does a lot of work for the sector. I mean, do you want to watch this 5-hour thing? No, you don't. But 20 minutes is like maybe enough.
Of physical abuse against anybody. I view that as a serious criminal allegation.
So
I don't know any allegation of physical abuse against anybody. I view that as a serious criminal allegation. I don't know what somebody's going to say or not. I don't know what the result's going to be. I don't know who's going to speak to me. And I don't know beforehand what they're going to say, whether I'm going to determine it to be credible, whether I'm going to be able to cross-reference it, get, confirmations from other people, and do the work that you need to do to be able to bring it forward and say that you believe it's credible. Pull up the screen.
All right, so right off the bat, that sounds like he's not confident. There is some elements of truth to this that, you have to be able to verify things, and sometimes you have to exclude certain information to protect people's identities, things like that. That's true. But he sounds like he's covering his ass, and that does not instill confidence in the audience. So right off there, he sounds like he's like, I mean, I'm just about to brag and tell you some tall tales or something, but I just gotta be careful here. Like, it wasn't good. I saw the chat in my Discord. People were seething, and I was like, oh no, it's starting already. So right off the bat, it's not very good. It's not very good. Straight up.
Cap the tweet that Nick said last night.
Okay, let's see here.
This is Rekieta Law. It says
also there was a bunch of tech issues that Alyssa has very mercifully edited out. Gabe was getting angry at Keanu for not finding the timestamp or something. Like, apparently he just expected her to read his mind, I think. So it was maybe he's looking for his war ski or something. Like he's trying to find his stream operating bro that can like run the show, and this is dipping his toe into the streaming world or something. I don't know, but the tension was high.
They're going to claim I choke slammed my son in the lobby of a chiropractor. I know this because our former nanny tried this allegation before, and CPS found no merit to it. What do you think that means?
All right. So before, when they planned this, and I assume Gabe sent his information to Keanu prior to this tweet coming out. Oh no, this is a YouTube comment, whatever. They didn't have this. This is the biggest thing that came out, and that Nick is making this very specific claim, which I absolutely believe has some truth to it. And like I said, it's probably the reality is that Nick is like holding his son's shirt or pushing him against the wall. Like he's not like choke slamming him, like doing wrestling moves on him. That's not going to happen. Okay. That's ridiculous. But something happened to the point where Nick could not go back to this chiropractor. And like I said, this is an allegation that has been levied against him by the nanny, by Nick's own words, which is really crazy when you consider that Nick is such a dishonest character that he would come out and say this. He's essentially admitting that this happened, in my opinion. But I mean, what do you guys think?
Okay.
But this was not going to be a part of the original expose. This is just stuff. It was just a happy little accident that Nick was stupid enough to fall into.
All, when we were texting about this, it's like, it's a very specific thing to say, right? There has to be something going on here. Obviously,
sweet for Keanu. I called her all manner of mean things. I said something nice about her once when she did a very good job against Nick. Sweeping, oh my goodness.
Something happened, correct? Like,
so the chiropractor was at the time his sister-in-law. He's confirmed that on stream. He no longer speaks with the sister-in-law. The whole, that part of the family is apparently estranged from them, which is just a sad and terrible thing. I hope they get it back together. What we can read into this is the following: that something happened with him and his son. Right.
Gabe might talk about this detail, but like I said, I didn't watch the entire stream for Keanu's. I was streaming at the time as well, but then I caught kind of the tail half of it and I was kind of in and out. But Nick has made this claim that he can't go back. He's like looking for this chiropractor, and the chiropractor was like his sister-in-law. Sorry. She no longer works there. So in theory, he should be able to go back to this chiropractor. So I think what Game is going to insinuate here is that if the sister is no longer at the chiropractors and Nick is desperately seeking a chiropractor, what is preventing him from going there? And then the assumption would be it's because he did this aggressive act in that place.
And then his son, told the nanny at some point in time. And then after he was arrested for the cocaine, one of the main questions that CPS had of multiple people that I spoke with, and again, I speak with people like on the phone. I want to be able to ask questions. I want to be able to hear live reactions to see, like, is somebody full of it, or are they able to answer relatively quickly and specifically? You have to do some, the best element of real journalism you can. If you're just texting or DMing, you're not going to get that human flavor.
So what you're saying is you have spoken with.
I'm not saying I spoke with anybody or that I'm not.
Okay.
But what I am saying,
I mean, this is, you kind of have to say this stuff, but like, it's so evasive. This is the first time I've ever actually seen Gabe talk about anything. I've only ever heard him referenced as a side character in the casino. This is not a good showing. I know he did a documentary, like, was it An Open Secret or something? And I think he exposed some like Hollywood like pedo ring or something like that. He was allegedly a producer, which I don't know what that means when you say producer. Did he just give them a bunch of money and someone else did the work? Did he actually do the investigation himself? But he's like, well, I maybe I talked to someone, maybe I didn't. Can we get something a little bit more concrete than this, please? Just say I talked to some people, but I can't say who. At least say that. At least say that.
Is that just from reading the plain text that Nick Rekieta told us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either the nanny completely made this up out of thin air, like she watched WWE, or the son told the nanny about something happening at the chiropractor. That whatever it was that happened there. I'm not saying it was criminal. I'm not saying.
I mean, she could have witnessed it as well. But it makes more sense if the nanny saw it, was told about it later. It seems like this nanny did have like a better relationship with the children than some of the parents actually. Nick said there was a peculiar relationship between his nanny and one of his daughters. I don't know which one. I believe it's the oldest of the one, not the one that tested positive for the cocaine test. It seems like that relationship was that the nanny was acting as a mother when their actual mother was absent. But like, I don't know. That's my assumption of the case. It seems like this nanny was a big part of their lives. I mean, she was there for like 5 years. I mean, some of those kids probably knew her from their first memories. So it doesn't surprise me that they would confide in her rather than someone else that was just watching Star Trek all day. But something about this story really rings true to me. Like I said, I think Nick is exaggerating it. Like he's adding a bit of ridiculousness to it so that everyone's like, well, that's just crazy. I would never do like wrestling moves on my kids or anything. But like, I could definitely see him doing like a slam against the wall or like, holding his shirt, pushing him. I was like, what did you say? Sort of thing. That seems in line with Nick's behavior, especially lately. The question is, when did this happen though? Because if it happened during the drug arc, that doesn't excuse it, but that might explain some erratic behavior. But did it happen before or after? I wish there was some more details, but I guess we've only got the source of Nick. But Nick was very, very convinced that this was going to be what they came up with. So it seems like he's convinced that everybody's talking to the nanny. And as far as I know, I don't know if anyone's talking to her at all. I think she's kept quite, I mean, it wouldn't be very professional of her to badmouth her previous employers, unless it's at like the request of the police, like she has to. But for some reason, Nick has got in his head. I wonder why.
It wasn't. I don't know if it crossed any lines, but whatever did go down, that I believe from a plain reading of this, the son felt that it was disturbed him enough that he decided to confide in the nanny about it.
Holy moly.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And point two, again, from what he's telling us, that the nanny thought it was important enough to bring it up to CPS. Right now, if we're going to be fair to Rekieta and we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt, we'd say the following. We'd say that at the time of the arrest, people, obviously people who were either family members or had been part of the household, like the nanny, that weren't there anymore, obviously they knew what a freaking disaster, Rekieta and his wife are in the whole house was. They wanted something to change. And could there have been a motivation to embellish a little bit? Or is there a little bit of a difference between Whisper Down the Lane, where the son says one thing and then the nanny says something else?
Sorry, this is just a small question. Is Whisper Down the Lane like a common phrase in America? I mean, I've always heard it as Chinese whispers, but apparently that's like racist. I'm not allowed to say it anymore. So people say we've been saying telephone now. Whisper Down the Lane, is that the chosen phrase for Chinese whispers now? It's not really important. I'm just kind of curious. I'm literally just curious.
A couple months later, or a few months later, or even several months later, that's a possibility too. That's up to your own benefit. I'm just looking at what is plain here, and I'm trying to lay out the alternatives for people to, for me to be fair, lay out the alternatives and let people come to conclusions they want. But something happened. Whether Rekieta is exaggerating on purpose, whether there was exaggeration by it, which is somewhat likely because the description from the nanny to CPS was almost certainly not chokeslam, right? Like that's WWE comical. But whatever the nanny,
his
right?
self-reporting is unbelievable. It's like, right. I was talking to Aaron about this today. I'm like, that's not something that you and I discussed or anything. It's like, no, exactly. It's just the weirdest thing. It's so fucking specific. I'm sorry. This nanny.
I mean, it's specific because that's what the nanny said. I think Nick, if Nick has ever been honest, this is probably the first time. But this is likely exactly what the nanny reported, is that the child said this to her or she said to the cops. It was chokeslammed. Now, you might ask, well, if this is an allegation, where's the proof? Like in these sort of situations, what would happen is, so let's make up a headcanon for this. The Rekietas are arrested with April. The kids are taken away. They start interviewing all the people. The nanny is one of the people. They're like, have you ever witnessed acts of violence or heard anything of violence or something? The nanny reports, yes. The son told me that, Nick was aggressive with him in a lobby. And it's like, well, have you seen this? And they're like, well, no. And it's like, okay, do you have any evidence of it? Or is there any videos of it? No. Okay, we'll ask the son. If the son doesn't say anything, then the allegation is then dismissed because they can't do anything. Without a witness, there's no way they can action any of these stuffs. So that's the problem, is that none of the kids are willing to, if this did indeed happen, talk out about the parents. And in many cases, kids will not say what happens to them because they're worried about their, like, well, daddy's going to go away forever if I admit this, right? So I that's my understanding of it. Now, the reason I think Nick is being so specific here is because either he thinks that everyone's been talking to the nanny, which I don't think is the case, or this is actually the wording used in the reports that is sealed in the CPS or CHIPS cases or reports. Now, allegedly, this is what Minnesota Public Records may have. However, they have yet to release it, and we're all kind of wondering. And now I'm wondering if they even exist at all. But apparently, there's these mystical 70 pages that Minnesota Public Records has. If Nick thinks that this is the only thing that's actually on record about him, of course, there are these many stories that people have been telling. If that comes out, maybe that's what he thought was happening. Maybe he thought that Gabe, because he hears Gabe is like an investigative journalist or something. He's a producer of this movie. Maybe he thinks he has these contacts that would somehow be able to sneak him out these documents or something. And maybe that's why he was in chat and so terrified, because he was seething all week about this. And he did a little bit of a victory lap. It wasn't much of a victory lap though, because like I said, he did expose this himself. So I wonder about that. That would be my wondering.
And he didn't just come up with this out of thin air. It just didn't happen.
But there was an allegation. I think it's reasonable to say.
Very funny. Oh, sorry. Let's be honest here. Nick doesn't have the strength to choke anyone, let alone a 16-year-old boy. Like, people don't know the time frame this happened. This could have happened when it was back in the Chunkator arc, okay? Maybe this happened years ago. Maybe the kid was younger. Maybe Nick was younger. Maybe Nick was stronger. Maybe he was weak. We don't know. Without any time frame to establish this, it could have been any version of Nick. Like, I mean, Nick did actually used to do like martial arts and not ballet, sorry, cheerleading. He went to sign up for cheerleading. No, he went to sign up for Taekwondo and he ended up doing ballet. Why do I keep saying ballet? Cheerleading in university. So there was a time when he was not just a skinny, spooky skeleton, where the xylophone music starts playing the moment he walks into the door. But like I said, we don't know. But ballet might be right up his alley. Actually, I think I know why I'm saying ballet. It's because I forgot to show this one. There was a bit of a leak. And this is like a leak that Nick wanted to be out there, but he sent this photo to Ethan Van Sciver. This is probably why I keep thinking of ballet. Hold on. Now, people thought that this was AI, but this is a picture of Nick wearing mascara, a pink tie, and shorts, being kissed by Kayla and April. Nick leaked this picture to EVS because he wanted it to be leaked. Like, EVS says that, like, I think that Nick sent me this because he wanted people to show up. And I absolutely think that for the first time in his entire dumb life, his fat dumb life, EVS is right about something. The only reason Nick would send him this picture is because he wanted the world to see it and his wife wouldn't let him. So he sent it to a friend who would then post it online. I think he actually shows more of the picture. It's very funny. I wanted to see his little shorts. But hold on. I think it's like here. It's like here.
Bro, you can't send me this where you're wearing eyeliner and getting 2 kisses. You can't send me this and expect me not to just be like,
Yeah, I think Nick absolutely wanted that to be made public. Absolutely wanted that to be public. So maybe that's why I was thinking of that. Like, anyway, but my point here was that this could have happened when he was fat, and fat people have a certain amount of strength. I should know.
There was an allegation that concerned that was some kind of physical
Wait,
altercation.
no, hold on a second. That looks like a commercial shot, and the makeup. I mean, just because you get a commercial shot doesn't mean you get dolled up in makeup if you're a man. What do you mean, like the makeup artist, like the photographers, they doing that? The question is, who took that photo? Was it a tripod or was it one of the kids? Which is pretty bleak. That's a pretty bleak situation now I think about it. Hey, kids, come over and take a picture of dad in makeup while he gets kissed by his 2 mums. Daddy, no. Like, shut up. Do you want to get choke slammed again? Oh, that's actually grim. That's actually grim. Hopefully not. The little shorts, yeah. All right, I'll go back.
There was an allegation that concerned that was some kind of physical altercation. This is something that if there was something that the son felt important enough to tell the nanny about, right?
Yeah.
And that thing happened in public. What happens in private? Now we're going to talk about an incident with Kayla.
All right. So that was them just covering up not covering up, sorry, but covering the Nick self-felt of the week, which is, I just don't like. I keep thinking that it couldn't get worse, but it always just gets worse. It always just gets worse. Wait, we actually got a clip for that, don't we? I forgot to play it. I've been using my other setup, so I haven't got all my annoying sound bites and things.
But at least now it can't get much worse.
But it did get worse.
It does actually get worse, but now that I remember that I have all these, I have to remind you one time to hit that like button.
Hit like if you like the show. If you don't like the show, don't hit like, or hit thumbs down. Be like, this guy sucks. I don't mind. But if you do like the show, hit that like button. It really does. I got to remind YouTube that I'm here. They are not distributing things out.
Oh no, poor situation over there in the Rekieta camp from a self-professed social media expert. All right, yeah, I'm begging for the likes. You got to hit that like. All right, let's continue.
You're talking about that edge of legality, right, in public, and you're talking about the same level of legality that has been discussed by other people on other podcasts that have witnessed interactions between Kayla and Nick. In other words, again, not illegal, but improper, weird.
I hated how he kept saying these things, because if we go back to the Hoffman tweet, I plan to credibly report, like, this does not sound credible, report upon previously undisclosed serious criminal allegations. You can't say you're going to report on serious allegations, then say, well, this isn't illegal. This isn't illegal, but I heard, like, it's actual clickbait. That's what it is. It's actual clickbait. They promised the world and they delivered very little. Although what they did deliver is actually pretty shocking.
Provocative, where Nick is.
I mean, there was some previously undisclosed things. They did mention 2 things, I think, that thus far has never been announced.
Getting up in her face, like up against a wall, and he's significantly taller than she is. She's pretty short, and he's yelling at the top of his lungs, just like he was with you, just like we've seen that rage before go off on a hair trigger.
Yeah, just like you would do in elevators to judges, right? He'll get in women's faces, get close, stand over them, loom over them. He's a tall boy. He's like 6'2". I thought he was 6'3", but he's actually, according to his license, he's 6'2". And then he just screams them down and poses on them, and it's kind of his special move. Keanu was the first person to be able to resist it because she was on the internet, and also, oh, never mind.
And it's hit me, hit me, hit me. Okay, he's physically imposing. He's towering over her, and he's yelling, "Hit me, hit me." He's whatever, 6 feet tall, and you're 5'2" or something. He's got, his arms are there, and you're against the wall, and he's right next to you, face to face, almost. At some point, what is he expecting to happen? What is he trying to provoke? Okay, because guess what? I'm not saying, I don't have any evidence that any such thing happened. This is purely hypothetical. But a reasonable person would sit there and go, "Wait a minute. Well, what if she does finally hit him? What's going to happen next?" Well, now you're in a situation where you can claim things of self-defense, this and that.
I don't know if I buy this, because you can't attribute rational thought to an irrational person. So Gabe's asking the question, why is he going up and imposing on her and saying, hit me, hit me, hit me? Because if she hits him back, or if she hits him, then he can hit her back in the self-defense and it'll be justified. Or perhaps he can divorce her and, take the new wife, take the kids, take the house and throw her to the curb because I don't know what she does in the house anyway. I think it's just like the easiest explanation is just that he was on drugs, right? He's on drugs and he's angry and he's impotent and he's raging. That would be my explanation. Like, I don't think that he's thinking I don't think this is some master plan. Is like, I'm going to corner Kayla. Then I'm going to try and intimidate her. Then she's going to punch me. And then I'll be able to punch her back. Finally. I think like it's just that he's on drugs and he's being like stupid. Of course, it is domestic violence, in my opinion. But I don't think there's this grand plan here. I think this is a mistake that a lot of people make as they try and attribute these sort of logical reasoning. It's like, what is his motivation here? He's on drugs and he's acting crazy. I think that's all you need. To say anything more is information I don't think that Gabe could possibly have. But I mean, what do you guys think? If you think Gabe is right, press 1. If you think it's just Nick is stupid and on drugs and angry and likes to yell at women, then press 2, I guess. Jefferson C. Post says, Gabe, careful on uncasino versus Gabe, careful / unkino versus legal mindset, careful and / Kino. That's true. Legal mindset is very Kino. He does very well for himself. Kind of divide. Let's see a lot of 2s, a lot of 1s. I think this is like, again, you just can't rationalize someone on drugs if you're not yourself on drugs. Even then, I mean, it wouldn't work really either way. But it's an interesting theory, I'll say. Although I definitely think it did happen. Like, this story rings true to me. I just don't know if I agree with his reasoning.
It leaves a mark, then, it's just, you're pushing right up that edge and you're trying to get into it. Okay. Now we're going to talk about a specific incident.
All right, specifics. Let's get into specifics.
He and his wife. And again, it gets with his behavior right up to the edge of legality, but there's an actual violent impact that happens as a result of his action. It's not something like a court of law would be like, oh, you're guilty, you did this, because he did not commit the physical act. Okay. But, any common sense person, would be indicative of somebody who's really freaking messed up.
Yeah.
Where Rekieta, and again, this is multiple parties. This is the result of conversations with multiple parties. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There was an incident with Kayla in the shower where
she's getting a shower call live. Apparently, that's what's happening.
Again, close quarters, pressed up against the wall, screaming very loudly, and there's not really a way for Kayla to kind of physically get out of that when somebody's without, doing something physical herself, which means she's afraid. She doesn't want to do that. And he's screaming at the top of his lungs, and she just wants it to stop. And out of frustration, just, anger, whatever, she ends up smashing her head against, there's like bricks, glass bricks.
Yeah, so if you've seen the Rekieta bathroom, he's got like a big bathroom and it's got these kind of like the glass walls, and they've got those like glass bricks that are like, they're like this big. I mean, like brick size, obviously. And it's kind of got like a big circular sort of thing. This is the bathroom I believe they all hang out naked in. So he gets in her face, starts yelling at her, screaming at her, to the point where she, I guess, overloads and starts hitting her own head, back of her head against these bricks, and that causes her to get a gash. I think he said like an inch gash, and also concussive, I think, which is pretty serious. Again, like, he is correct here to say this is not something you convict him for, because like manipulating someone into hurting himself, I mean, it's abuse, right? But like, I'm not sure how you would bring this up in a court of law. I'm sure there is a way to do it, but it escapes me. He's like, well, she did it herself, I guess. But this sort of story rings true to me, and we've seen Nick do stuff like this. I mean, even I've done this before. Is like when you get drunk, like you start hitting yourself on the wall, sort of thing. It's like a coping mechanism. Is like when you're like completely overloaded with stimulants or I guess just stress, but in their case, drugs. You just start doing these random actions, and the fact that Nick would do this to her just goes to show you, I guess, if it is indeed true, how little he cares for his own wife.
That are part of like a window that are like higher up in a shower. So you have like a wall and you have glass bricks like a window, and she slams her head against the glass bricks, and she does it enough where there's a gash in the back of her head. It was approximately 1 inch, and later for a short period of time she had what could be described as mild concussive symptoms. Again, is it something that Nick did to her? No. Is it something that's criminal in nature? No. But is it abusive? Is it messed up?
100.
If this is accurate, surely there'd be a I mean, obviously it'll be private, but there should be. I'd imagine this sort of cut you'd probably get stitches for if it's as serious as Gabe is describing it. So, like, if there was some way to obtain this, like medical records, which I guess it comes under HIPAA, right? So I wouldn't be able to. I would imagine that there would be medical records of this if it is indeed true. Of course, we'll probably never see the light of day unless someone obtains them in some sort of illicit manner, which I could not recommend.
Abusive, yeah, emotionally, God, psychologically.
I mean, I'm making an assumption there, though. I mean, may have just been a nasty cut, but I would imagine that sort of gash would leave stitches or something. I've had stitches before. That's why I'm saying that.
Absolutely. Jesus
HIPAA would block
Christ.
it most likely.
Okay.
Look, there's a former close family friend. And again, all of these things, we're talking about conversations with multiple parties. None of these things are the result of just one conversation.
So I'm not sure how many people that Gabe has talked to, but allegedly he's talked to multiple parties. So at least 2 that can corroborate these stories. I believe there's a clip of Aaron saying that, like, when he heard these stories, it sounded like he was talking to April. I don't think so. Drex, I don't think it's Drex, because like the story he's about to tell, because I pre-watched this, obviously. The story he's about to tell is a friend of the family who cut off Nick from their lives because of this action that he's going to describe, which was hitting his child or something, or disciplining his child in public in a way that was that he found questionable. But according to Camelot and Drexel were going to go see Nick the day of the arrest, so that wouldn't line up with that. I think, like, a lot of people have this like there's kind of like TV show logic where it's like you've seen all these characters on stream, so surely it must be one of these characters. That's just simply not the case. There's dozens of people that we don't know, we surely don't even know about. They were part of their lives and probably left part of their lives. Like, it sounds more like me to it's like a family member or something. Because he goes on to say that, like, half of Nick's family is estranged from him. You mean Crash a lot? Yeah, exactly.
Conversation with one person. I want to make this,
yeah,
something again that I believe to be credible.
All right.
That there's a former close family friend who is not a family friend any longer, and you can speculate as to what reasons might be, and there could be a lot. It's somebody who used to spend a lot of time around the Rekietas wouldn't be spending time around them anymore, that are obvious and that are in front.
yeah.
But something that this particular family friend relayed, something that friend felt disturbed them. And that friend witnessed Nick Rekieta,
Yeah, like a church makes sense. I could see that. Because, like, they still go to these church events, right? Like, they've changed churches, but their kids still go to, like, church activities. There's a Reddit, some called Ask Lawyers or something, and somebody submitted a request to it saying, like, has anyone gone to law school with Nick Rekieta? And I don't believe there was anyone that has actually responded to it, but I mean, saying that they were a classmate of Nick's. But there was one person in that thread claiming to be a Minnesota resident that sees Nick at these church events. So that may be one of the people. But again, that's a Reddit account. So I mean, how much stock can you put in that sort of question? That sort of witness.
Getting physical with his children in a impulsive and disciplinary manner, not punching, not illegal. Want to make that very clear. Not a punch or something that would but we want to
now. Nick was in chat during this segment, and he said, "I don't physically discipline children. This is just insane." It's kind of weird wording, though, right? Because I don't know if anyone's talking about this actually being discipline. I think it's just abuse, right? But it's kind of like weird wording. And every time Nick talks about this is weird wording. Like when the build up to this was all happening, he said he said something like he keeps using like present tense and these sort of strange, like you just say I've never hit a child or something. If you just say that, it would be better, like, right? So it's kind of strange.
Back to thinking about how normal families interact with each other, where you're in front of somebody who's not a member of the family.
And
there's this, and if you have to physically discipline a child, if that's a parent's judgment, some do, some don't. But you're talking about getting, and it should be a decision that's made out of a thought process, right? That like you believe that this is the appropriate parenting because of certain reasons that you've come up with. Like, oh, look, okay, let me give you an example. And I'm not saying it's how everybody parents, right? But one of your kids, you walk in and one of your kids is just beating the hell out of a younger sibling who's smaller, and they shouldn't be doing that. And you're sitting there going, you know what? The only way I can discipline them, the only way that parent thinks is right, and things like this happen all the time. But a rational parent would drag the kid into another room if there's.
I mean, the mistake here is thinking that Nick is in any way rational. It just simply is not. I mean, he is saying that like this is because he's not a rational person, obviously, but trying to attribute these sort of logic to this sort of situation, I think, is kind of like a losing proposition.
Company over, right? Drags, you know, you're in with company, you walk in, it's happening, you drag the kid into another room. And I'm not saying, again, that this specifically happened in this case. I'm giving just a completely made up example of when and how somebody might handle physical discipline if there are others present that are not your immediate family. You drag them into a room and you do your spanking or whatever you got to do there, right? But this was described as, you know, so even if it's just a smack, even if it's just a little something, this friend was disturbed by behavior that this friend, in this friend's long association with the Rekietas, this friend felt this was a pattern of behavior that this friend had not seen before in the past. And this was something that disturbed the friend to the point where the friend, you know, now there could be other reasons again. This is one reason that the friend didn't want to be, you know, with them in that immediate vicinity again. Because it was a change in behavior they didn't like. Now, if you're somebody who's hanging out with, look, your neighbor's down the street, right?
Right.
And you see one of them, and again, not in any legal way, they're not leaving a mark, but you just see something to get back to with your neighbors, where for whatever reason, a misbehavior thing, something, you know, and you see a physical, you know, an act of physical discipline.
Right. Anything
you
physical.
You wouldn't be comfortable with that they did that in front of you.
In this day and age,
I don't think I'm mad at you. I'm gonna, you know, do something physical. Anything you wouldn't like.
Yeah, like I think Keanu is going to try and break this down, but essentially what Gabe's saying here is that someone witnessed an act of physical strike against one of the children from Nick in a public setting, and this was importantly a marked change in his behavior. Something had changed and I believe this. I guess the idea is it's during the Coke session or something. Oh, not the session, but the Coke arc. And this was different from the previous way that Nick would discipline his kids. Now, this does happen quite a lot. You do see this, like there's kind of changing opinions, obviously. I think in most first world countries, spanking is now illegal. But it's sounding like this is more than just like a simple spank or something. I wish there was some more details here, though.
My opinion, anybody that's doing anything like that in this day and age, I don't know.
I will say that the spanking just doesn't work. If a child is old enough to understand reason, you don't need to spank them. And if they're younger, then they can't understand reason, then they can't understand the cause and effect of spanking anyway. And that's why spanking is illegal in most countries now.
Who the f is doing that? And to the point where it disturbs.
Not spanking your kids is why first world countries are rapidly failing. This just simply isn't true. This is just not the case. I was spanked as a child, but the fact of the matter is that it raises worse people. It doesn't mean that your parents, like, people get this sort of you have this inbuilt urge to defend your parents if they spanked you. It's like, well, my parents loved me and they spanked me, therefore my parents could not do something that is evil towards me. No, the fact of the matter is that people just didn't understand. We now have better understanding of it, and it seems like spanking your children correlates to a 5-point IQ decrease in their potential. So either just talk through the situation, give them proper cause and effect, or they're simply too young to talk to them, and you just at that point using violence against them is just not going to work.
Friend, allegedly, or whatever. That's
like, again, I'm not.
maybe. Maybe.
Not making any specific accusations.
So somebody in chat, maybe the answer.
It's all.
I've done this at a much higher level, you know, in the past, and I understand that certain details do need to be left out to protect the identities of the people with whom I spoke. But enough detail needs to be conveyed where hopefully the audience finds, or you know, that my investigation and the manner in which I determine things.
Yeah, the Molly memes are coming out.
Enough where they believe it to be credible too.
And I trust you.
And that's the balance I'm trying to strike. That again, I'm not alleging any specific acts. I'm describing it as being physical with a form of discipline on an impulsive basis in front of this friend, that this friend was no longer comfortable for that and potentially other reasons. And because tip of the iceberg, okay, if you're that friend and you see something in front of you that you ain't comfortable with or that you think is impulsive, you're going, wait a minute, what's the next step here? Because you don't want to run the risk that you might see something that you actually have to go to the cops and talk about, or that you feel like a piece of crap. You don't want to run the risk that you see something that actually is, like that. You just want to get the hell out of there. You might have a word with your friend or have a conversation, but,
Can you imagine? Yeah, right.
Yeah, it sounds, yeah. Family, friend starts doing something you don't find acceptable, but you're not sure you can report it, sort of thing. So you just cut them out of your life. That's the implication here.
If this is what you would do in front of a friend, and also again, they were on drugs, they admittedly. So
again, like Keanu makes a mistake here. We don't know if this story occurred at the same time that the drug use was happening. The drugs. I mean, I guess Nick was probably on drugs for a lot longer than we knew. But like, I think what is the general time frame is like the last 2 years. I think like it feels like a lot of these stories happened prior to that time. Although this person said there was a change in the behavior, which would probably indicate the drug use. Although it could have just been the point where Nick started to really change during the Johnny Depp trial. I think that a lot of people noticed that. It's kind of went to his head, right? He got the $20,000 a day in super chats. He was getting 100,000 live viewers, and a lot of people that have known Nick spoke about how around that time he started to get like a god complex, essentially. It was kind of like he always saw himself as an amazing person, but he never actually had the proof to back it up. And then he finally got that acknowledgement, and he kind of went off the rails then.
I don't know. Trad dad of the year. Jesus Christ.
Chat is free to guess whatever they want. There are people that I spoke with that chat wouldn't even guess.
This is true. He does think he's
because I spoke with on the phone a significant number of people. It's not one or two or three even.
Yeah.
And
okay, so he's saying at least 4 people he talked to. At least 4 people. The question would be, who would those people be?
And look, there's some people that ain't going to be happy unless I said something that was going to make the cops barge down Nick Rekieta's door tomorrow. I don't have any control over that. Whether they think it's the tip of the iceberg or not, it's up to them.
So it's so funny that he self-reports himself, right? It's like, there is a choke slam my son at a chiropractor. That came from somewhere, but from what you're telling me, there's even more than that.
Yeah, this does make it sound like church. Like, I was thinking coming into this, like maybe he was he could be talk to, I guess, Aaron. He could talk to like the sister or the sister's family. I wasn't thinking about the church people at all, but that's a really good point, actually. It does sound like talking to a group of people would be talking to the church group. Now, Nick has claimed that the church group doesn't exist, and it's actually just all his families that were using the church as a proxy. But the pastor could certainly be one of these people. But like I said, there's all these other people that we just don't know about. Like, even just thinking about Nick's stream, there was all these characters he used to have come on that just disappeared over time. Like there was, what was that Q guy that he had a falling out for some reason. I can't remember. What was his name? It's like, do you guys remember this guy? It's like a black guy. He would come on Nick's show. They were like really good friends. Then there was that Tim, the producer guy that went around to his house. There was a bunch of other people, like Q Into the Darkness. Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. Not the Q, not that Q, but like Q Into the Darkness. There was a bunch of characters. Like I said, there's all these other characters that just never would have been on the stream anyway. But the church is that's probably my leading theory in this one at the moment. Like church social group or something. Well, I don't think it's Drexel. Because like I said, Drexel was willing to go to the house the day before the raid. And Camelot said that he and Drexel were going to fly down that very weekend. And they had everything booked and planned and everything. Now, I know people have said, like, well, everyone says it's always going to be the weekend before. But apparently they had, according to Camelot anyway, they had their flights booked. And it seems like these people cut them out of their life a long time ago. So I don't think so. But, I mean, it's not impossible.
Like, well, allegedly.
Well, these are things that I believe to be credible. I mean, I think I've been specific enough with, what happened with Kayla in that incident that left the 1-inch gash in the back of her head. Again, not something he directly did, but, was he the instigator? Did he instigate that, the series of events that led to it? Look, she did it herself, but he's, that's one example of multiples. I just, look.
Holy moly.
I hope that the things that I've learned that I believe to be true, I hope that is not the tip of the iceberg. I hope that's the whole iceberg. I really do. I don't hate the guy. Look, I've talked a little shit on Twitter when he talked shit first, but
Yeah,
it's
him.
just talking crap. I don't want to ruin a guy's life. I don't want nothing like that. I hope that the things that I'm talking about are enough in the past where the Nick Rekieta of June 2025 is not living like that anymore, and he's not doing those things like that anymore. I really hope that's the case. I hope there's not a whole iceberg underneath. What you want to believe as an audience and what you want to speculate on is up to you.
I think there clearly would have to be more than this, because like I said, why would Nick be in the audience for this stream? If he thought that Gabe Hoffman was crazy and he knew what allegation they would come with, and it was going to be this chokeslam allegation, he had no reason to be there. I mean, obviously he's terminated online and he has to listen to everything that people talk about him. But if they had nothing, if this was a big nothing burger, why would him and like his biggest capos be patiently watching the entire 5 hours stream? And there was a very annoying part where Gabe was like, we're going to get to the real serious stuff after the break or whatever. And at that point, it was like 4 hours in already, which is very frustrating because like they started like 2,000, well, they started like 1,000 and went up to 2,000. That would have been the time to drop all the good information. Because like I said, there are a few good points here. So he made two very specific claims. The first being that Kayla was yelled at to the point where she would start smashing her head against the back of a glass shower, leaving a 1-inch gash, which is very specific as well. Like, I'd be curious how he would figure that. Like, who would have told that story? Because surely it wouldn't have been Kayla. Then there was the one where, what was it? Shit. Displaying a child in public impulsively in a departure from Nick's regular behavior to such a degree, it was so serious that they decided to cut the Rekietas out of their lives. And then I believe he also told a story about a baseball bat, which I think is Aaron's story. That's the one that Aaron's talked about. Like Nick grabbed a baseball bat or something. Or was it? No, wait, sorry. Was it Nick that grabbed the baseball bat or was it Aaron? I'm sorry, I have to refresh my memory on that one. I'm not too sure.
It's true.
That's the public opinion. And then look, this is, a week and a half worth. I'm not, again, I was never a Rekieta A-log. I'm not going to be. I felt that there are probably people out there that thought there was maybe something worse that was at the tip of the iceberg, and I didn't find that. And that should be he should do that.
This is where Gabe started to really lose people. He's like, well, I'm sorry if you thought there was going to be more than just the tip of the iceberg. No, Gabe said, I plan to report credibly upon previously undisclosed serious criminal allegations against Nicholas Rekieta. You can't say this and then say, well, this is always going to be tip of the iceberg stuff. You kind of like, no, this is some backtracking. This is some backtracking stuff.
Positive, and I think he should, I hope there ain't nothing worse, and he should hopefully view my, characterizations of things as fair and credible. But ultimately, again, he's got a choice. Look, he could be a man, and if he wants to totally do a react to the whole stream and laugh at you being a retard with your tech.
He will.
He could do all that he wants and produce some content.
That's the thing.
I don't know if anyone has the constitution to watch the entire 5 hours apart from Melissa. She's doing God's work over here.
Or he could just ignore it, or whatever he wants, and that's cool.
The smart thing would be to ignore it, but he won't. Do you think
this is true? This is true. The smart thing would have been to ignore it. There was actually, hold on, I got to get some of these. Like the thing moves so fast. Hold on. There was a couple good memes, but there was one like it was really sad because it came from Nick. Well, no, it didn't come from Nick, but like it was this one. This one, yeah, here it is. Heartbreaking. The worst person you know just made a great point when Nick was in the chat saying, should have picked someone with an IQ over 36. It's heartbreaking, but I mean, this is an actual Rekieta W. Unfortunately, we have to acknowledge that. Very, 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 very sad, but it's true. It's true.
Nick is dangerous today, still on drugs, even maybe. In your opinion, this is just your opinion.
He's shown we discussed it. He's shown whether it's talking about wanting to do ketamine therapy, whether it's talking about crushing Adderall, whether it's the voice going all over the place that sounds like Whippet.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if this was previously mentioned on our streams, but Nick has admitted now to crushing up and snorting Adderall. Now, of course, he does have a prescription for Adderall, but he's like, well, I don't have enough dosage. So clearly I could not be doing these to get high or whatever. Or whatever it is that people use to use Adderall for. I guess he uses like a cheap man's cocaine, which is stupid because you can just save up the supply, right? Like you could just not use it for a few weeks and then you just go hard with a 5-week supply or something. I mean, if you've done it before and we know he's got such low impulse control, I don't see why he wouldn't do it again.
Whether it's the red nose that looks like, you snorted something, whether it's the really sudden changes in mood. I mean, going from where he was one second to acting like you're trying to kill his kids and screaming at the top of his lungs, turning purple like a 2-year-old. These are all the signs of somebody who's not healed.
Well, yeah,
and,
exactly.
not prepared for, to handle the stress of the public fishbowl that is, a streamer's life, especially a streamer that has the history that he does.
They have, and literally.
Yeah.
And look, I hope he gets better. I hope he.
That's my thing.
I hope he hasn't snapped on anybody in a way that's illegal, and I hope that he never does.
But
to handle.
You can't just end it like that, though. You can't say you're going to report on previous undisclosed criminal offenses against, and they're like, well, I don't think I hope he never did it. I mean, yeah, we all hope he didn't do it, but I was expecting fire. I was expecting destruction. I was expecting anything that was like provable. He's supposed to be an investigative journalist. What do you mean? Yeah. What does this say, Max? You should make a poll. Which is redder? My Pharmatan or Nick's nose after snorting Adderall? Should we do that? Do we want to do that as a silly poll? Jefferson C. Post says Warski or Nerdrotic would have good insight, a good addict insight. Yeah, Warski's like really good at picking up when people are on drugs. I'll give him that. Also, big support with 1 Kayla nude unit. Says Amateur Ant says, I'm 30 minutes behind the stream, but I think this is a distraction from the small hats F around and FO with Iran. I think Gabe actually said this on Twitter. He's like, sorry, this wasn't as good as it should have been because I was planning the attack against Iran. The US needs to be done with Israel. Even Ben Shapiro said Israel doesn't need the US help, so the small hats need to fuck off. Hey, look. I have my questions too, okay, but I know very little about the situation. I try to keep out of politics, except from laughing at rioters, because simply I don't know enough about the situation. But I do appreciate the big boy one. Certainly you aren't from that country. Take a stance. Wouldn't you like that? Wouldn't you like it? Oh dear. Oh dear. All right. What do we think about this? Now, we did a poll. Who took the biggest L of the night? 17% saying Keanu, 46% saying Nick, 25% saying Gabe. I was like thinking of the Simpsons references as I do. And it reminds me of that B Sharps episode where Homer's trying to come up with the songs. And I think the one that I came up with was, there was nothing in Gabe's vault, but it wasn't Keanu's fault. Dope. That's kind of what I think it was. It's like, I do think Keanu did a really bad job here. But I don't think it was her fault not knowing what Gabe was going to say. But you can't promise the world and then deliver peanuts. Otherwise, people are going to get mad. And Nick, I think Gabe realized this when he went live. Like, he thought it was much spice than it was. And that's because I think that he thinks that, like, the Kiwi Farms and the Kino Casino is like this, his small little private club that only he knows about. I mean, to be fair, he is kind of a normie dipping his toe in this, like, kind of weird world. He did a week of research. What do you mean? He did a whole week of research. Whole week. Too much hype. Yeah, the hype was what killed it. I mean, there was some nuggets. The biggest one came from Nick, though. Like, this would have been a almost total W that he could have grandstanded and danced around on for weeks if he just kept his mouth shut. But he simply cannot do that. Unfortunately, this probably will not work again, because I think a couple people have attempted this. Like, it seemed like Pod Awful attempted this as well. He had like the fake videos of the body cam footage. And he was trying to bait Nick into admitting to stuff. Or maybe he's just trolling. I don't know very much about Pod Awful. Apparently he gets a lot of money from free pizzas or something. The Pizza Fund. And I think there were some other people that tried this as well. But this will likely never work again. So I hope we enjoyed what we got. And Nick will probably be a lot more typeless now that he's realized that he's not as smart as he thinks he is. What a thing to say. What a thing to say. All right, I'll go take a look at this EVS thing very quick. We got some more stuff, but I'm not sure if I'll go through it tonight. Do you guys want to keep going? We could go through the riveting riveting content from Nick Rekieta, more cooking with Kurt. This is 36 minutes. So I'm not sure how long. I'm not sure if we can go through the whole thing. It is kind of funny that, like, it is very funny, and it might be a good way to end off. Let's see what. Let's see the first part where what EVS had to say. Recently reformed and then backsliding bulldo washer. Let's see what he has to say.
Grifter Gabe Hoffman on your crush Keanu cast to expose Rekieta. Let's fucking go. I'll probably watch that tomorrow because
He did watch it tomorrow.
I'm into this Nick stuff, man. I didn't. Nick is like, how do I feel? I don't know how I feel. I hate these people so much. The people that hate Nick Rekieta, I hate them so much. Like, they're such awful. Like, Yellow Flash is such a piece of human garbage.
Why?
So that makes me automatic.
Why is Yellow Flash a piece of garbage? What is it with, like, EVS? I don't know what is his deal. Like, why does he hate, like, Eric July and Eric? And it's just because they make comics and he's too lazy to finish his, like, his, what is it, Sparkle Princess, Light Brute, or whatever it's called. He's opportunistic. He's the throat goat. I mean, I know that what did he smoke crack and then lick a urinal or something? I mean, that does things to a man. They make money. That's why okay, there we go. That's why he hates people.
We want to side with Nick Rekieta, and I like Nick Rekieta's allies.
What do you mean by that?
I don't like.
I like Nick Rekieta's allies. Who do you mean? Like Dick Masterson, Vito, Melton? Who are the illustrious allies of Nick Rekieta? Who's last left on the wall? He likes Melton and Vito. Interesting. Kumalot. Yeah, I guess Kumalot's still there.
What Nick did, I don't like what he does. Nick is texting me a million things, and I feel like he's trying to manipulate me a little bit here.
He is horny for Nina Infinity. Okay. So there are some women who are less than 40 that hang around with Nick, and he's trying to step out on his old lady because he's trying to relive the glory days of being the throat goat. Is that what's happening here?
Just a little bit, but you can't, bro. You can't send me this where you're wearing eyeliner and getting 2 kisses.
The eyeliner. Nick thinks, like, he literally thinks he's a rock star. I've got 2 girlfriends, just like Johnny Depp. Actually, I don't think did Johnny Depp ever have 2 girlfriends? Probably did. Oh dear. This is like Green Day cosplay or something. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? He's gay.
You can't send me this and expect.
Exactly. It's guyliner. How can a man with 2 chicks look so gay? I don't get it. Like, we had this picture originally, like the suit check, the fit check, where, like, Nick has to be straight because he thinks that this looks good. And then I see this photo and I'm like, well, now I just don't know what to believe. He's wearing shorts. I wear shorts all the time. Nothing wrong with wearing shorts. I don't know. It's a pretty wild photo, though. I wish do they even have the full body version of this? Like, he does have little white shorts on. I wanted to show those little white shorts. Does anyone have that? Can they send it to me real quick? All right. Should we go into let me clear some of these tabs out for a second. We'll keep going for a little bit. I'm having fun. Although I do have to wake up early tomorrow for the oh wait, here it is. I got it. This is the full, like, is this the full, like, I believe this is, hopefully this is real. What the fuck? He can't even tie a tie? What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Half wins a knot. He didn't even get the right length. Jesus Christ. At least his belt is reasonable. There we go. Can we get a 1 out of 10 in the chat for this? Can we get, what do you rate this from? 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. How would you rate this on both the style chart and the cool chart? -5, -10, those shorts. The shorts are a bad look. Oh my goodness. The woman's legs are bigger than his. That's a clip belt? Is it really? Is it like a Velcro belt? Oh, you mean like the little the kids' backpack belts? Is that what you mean? It looks like some shit from the 80s. That's exactly what they're going for. -9,000 and -100, -100. Is this real? I don't know what to believe anymore. Have you ever seen a picture of a sunfish having a bite taken out of it? Hold on a second. We live in this world where you can't believe anything because like everything is AI and stuff. But like sunfish are the stupidest creatures in the world, right? And the sunfish have these like comically large bites taken out of them. So like I'll send this to my friend or something, and I'll be like, Lamol, check out this stupid fish, and they'll be like, well, that's AI. I'm like, no, sunfish actually look like this when they get bites taken out of them because sunfish taste terrible. And so basically, fish take bites out of them and then they don't eat the rest of them. So you'll see sunfish swimming around in the ocean, and they just have these big chunks taken out of them, and it's like they're comical. Like it just doesn't make sense when you see sunfish are just crazy, and they have like 1 billion babies as well. So I tried sending one of these photos of a sunfish to someone and they didn't believe me, and they're like, "We live in the AI world," and they're just like, "No, this is AI." I'm like, "No, it's real. It's real." And I'm getting this uncanny valley where I just can't understand if this is real or not. Sure, I think the fact that the tie is like this confirms that it's real because Nick is so half-assed at everything. He probably didn't even tie it himself. That's probably why it looks like this. Probably one of the ladies to tie it for him. His dad never taught him how to teach it. Sunfish are cute. I mean, kind of. They're big and slow and cute. I guess he's not gay. They know how to tie ties. Wait, what? I don't know. Aaron hit it first. Yeah, the sad thing is that every woman that Nick has had sex with, Aaron has had sex with as well. Nick is like the male Eugenia Cooney. I made that reference as well. I literally made that reference. Have you ever seen a whale sleeping? No, I haven't. I've seen whales before though. There's a lot of whales in Kaikoura. Sperm whales and blue whales and humpbacks and all sorts of stuff. And also we used to get southern right whales come past my house. Southern right whales are really cool because they swim so close to the shore, and then they slap the water around and they're so noisy. Anyway, sorry, getting distracted by fish and fish related topics. Even though whales are not fish, don't even come at me at the comments replay crew. All right, we'll take a look at this. I'm not sure if we'll get through all of it, but let's see what Nick's got up to on his stream. This is called riveting content from Nick Rekieta, more cooking with Kurt, and I'll be sure to like the video for Alyssa. All right, we're going to go past the 1.25 speed. It's getting kind of late, but I do want to see some of this. That's fine. Don't sunfish have phalangeal teeth? So I don't know. You just wrote that, but you tried to get me to read it, didn't you? Well, I didn't. So joke's on you. Oops. There we go.
I need this in my life. And so do you.
The Kurt cooking videos. Here they come.
You can't deny it. I'm a fucking rider.
Nick just looks unhinged. Like, how does this happen to a man? Like, look at this face. Like, honestly, we're going to bring this into the crime lab for just a second. What is this? Like, this is the face of a man who knows how and when you're going to die. Like, he's seen some ghosts of future past or something. This is crazy. He didn't used to look like this, right? Is this what drugs does to a man? Like, where is that? But this is what Nick used to look like. He used to look normal. This is like his normal face. Did he just is it just him getting old? But his eyes are like bulging out. It's like I've made the Dagon reference before, but it's like he's taking the third oath of Dagon. And he's about to join the fish people. Like, what is going on here? Ketamine causes real brain rot. After 1 year, Nick is a fucking fish. He's dead inside. Brain of Swiss trees. He saw a corner demon. Nick is a deep one. Yeah, I've made that reference multiple times. He's old. I don't know. I don't think this was to happen to people. I think my eyes are getting smaller as I get older, but that could be because I live over here.
Sauce was more for the meat, but I just put it as part of the egg to uniformize the flavor.
His ghoul mixing.
The Worcestershire sauce was for the meat, but he put it in the eggs to uniformize the.
Hold a second.
The Worcestershire sauce was for the meat.
I understand it's Worcestershire sauce, not Worcestershire sauce, but okay.
But he put it in the eggs to uniformize the flavor. What the fuck? What are you doing? What are you talking about? Why?
Now, Nick thinks he's a chef. Why is he shrieking? He's trying to be funny. Loud equals funny. You have to understand that. Loud equals funny. And Nick thinks he's like a master chef, even though I've seen what he cooks and it's just grey slop. But if anyone else cooks grey slop, then he has to have a hissy fit about it.
If you would have put it in with the meat, maybe, just maybe, you could have reduced down the Worcestershire sauce and concentrated the flavor onto the edge of the meat. You could have maybe saved the fact that you have no Maillard reaction on any of that gray bullshit. And you could have, I don't know, added a little.
Did he say Maillard? What is it? Maillard reaction? This Nick Rekieta's been overdosing on Google Foods or some shit. I don't know.
Bit of enduring flavor, but instead you just washed it out in eggs.
You have to eat all the eggs, chat.
Oh,
this is sorry, wrong one. This is the most. I actually never thought about this, but this is such a good comment. Where'd it go? Hold on. This is really good. This is really good. Why is a skeleton giving advice on food? That's true. Would you trust a skinny chef, chat?
I was going through Kurt's
Like, I mean, look at Kurt. Kurt looks like he enjoys food. I think I would take Kurt's advice over Nick's.
Man, this is 2 years ago. He has so many community updates. They're like crazy. I was going through. I'm 9 months ago on his.
He's like stalking Kurt's community posts back to 9 months. Oh my goodness, we got the skits cater over here. He's got the board. He's got all the community posts and all of the Kurt cooking videos, and we got the red twine and everything. 9 months of community cooking posts. It's like, this man has been eating food for 9 fucking months. I've got him. We've got him, chat. This is some weird behavior. I'm glad we're finishing on this because like the other subject matter was kind of heavy. This is like more lighthearted and funny.
Months back, I want to know if anybody can find the post on Uncivil's page. I don't want to sit here and scroll through this. I want to watch the video, but if anybody can find the post of Kurt,
this is the trial content, by the way. This is on the hold on a second. Let me check. This was from Karen Reed trial closing argument review. Now, while Nick was seething about this, with about 900 people watching him, Kurt was currently streaming at the very time that Nick was seething about his cooking posts. He was currently streaming to 2,000 people with like Melanie Little, Runkle. He had like 9 friends on like one of those classic panel posts. He was living his best life. It truly is the best revenge is living well. Because Kurt is like, I'm pretty sure this is an old Kurt video too. It's like not recent. But Kurt is just like ignoring the seed posting. Nick is losing people because he's doing these micropene counters. Then the stuffing Bev's cannoli counter is at 6 or whatever this means. I don't know. But he's driving away approximately 10% of his audience per week. It's actually almost like clockwork. How low can it go? That's my question.
Talking about or showing anything about his date with, his encounter with 3 of his female fans to do dinner and stuff. God, please send it to me. Send it to me.
I could not the other way around.
Is this why Nick is so obsessed? Because Nick was only able to have dinner with 2 chicks, but then Kurt had dinner with like 3. Is this what I'm hearing? I don't know. 2 Rits, welcome back to member status. Thank you much. Much appreciated.
Twitter,
I knew I was going to drain the liquid from the pan when I drained the grease. So I didn't.
Hey, look, this drain can have a little bit of grease as a treat. I believe that. Okay.
Put the Worcestershire sauce in with the meat because
drain the pan first, then put the Worcestershire sauce in with the meat. If you're going to do it that way, you shouldn't do it that way. You only needed about like 5 squirts of Worcestershire on there. You did not need to put a whole bottle in, you disgusting mutant. Oh my.
I'm not sure I'm going to take Nick's advice on squirting since it took him 3 hours to get April to come and they had bloody sheets because she was so dry. And he thought that this was a great like trophy. I'm not sure if I want to listen to him what he's saying. Is he reading this off a script? Yeah, this is a pre-prepared. Kurt's pre-preparing his tuna casserole, whatever he's making, and Nick's pre-preparing his rants about Kurt's tuna casserole.
God.
Because then most of the flavor would have been drained out, which is like not what I was trying to do. So I put it with the egg. So that's more for the meat than for the egg.
Then why'd you put it with the egg?
Objection, Your Honor. Objection. This man is putting eggs with meat. Sustained, Mr. Rekieta. You've clearly never heard of steak and eggs. Damn it. Foiled again.
We're not starting to clean soon. We'll be fine. I'll clean up when I'm done.
No, you won't.
I've got some nice kitchen cleaner here.
It's so mad. I'm sorry. He's so upset at the idea that somebody else cleans their house. It's anathema to him. Oh my God. No, you won't. He's offended by that. Like, oh my god. I'm sure Kurt cleaned up his kitchen.
I cleaned up the kitchen before I started
Like
cooking.
he's actually like unhinged. Like, look at this face. Your loyal, your Karen Reed trial coverage, sir. You got some like 50-year-old chick with her second box of Franzia. She comes in and is like, I can't wait to watch the law today on my all-day law YouTube channel that my son set up for me on the smart TV. And there's like, she turns it on and then she's like, this man's mixing Kurt today. Kurt, do you want to come on? Wait, where are you? Where I see you. I see you. Do you want to do a live reaction to this? You're welcome to stay in the audience, of course. But if you want to come on and go through this and explain your reasoning about this squirts of Worcestershire sauce, let me know. Oh, this is too funny. Sure, what the hell? Okay, I'll send you the link. We're going to invite Kurt on. All right. We'll continue while we do this.
I'll clean up after I'm done. You know?
He cleaned up.
I gotta
before he
ask
started cooking.
Kurt
We've
about
seen
his cooking
kitchen. It did
video.
not look clean.
Probably when I search for
Pastor
Kurt, it
Flash
doesn't
says,
work.
does Kurt have a cannoli cooking video? Not to my knowledge.
Can we request that?
There's stains on that stove from before he started. The stains go deep into the metal. I don't know how he could do it.
Nick has had 3 women. Well, I guess 2 women. A third was trying to write transcripts about the filthiness about his kitchen tops. And then he comes in and watches one of Kurt's private, not private, I guess members only content or whatever. And then he's like, no, sir, you have the dirty kitchen. And here we have the dirty man, the dirty kitchen man himself. How's it going?
I'm doing reasonably well. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, good, good.
I'm in positive spirits today.
Yeah. What time is it over there? Hold on.
It is 9:46 in the morning.
Right. Have you seen you've taken a very what is it? You've taken the high road. They say the best revenge is living well. And I've seen that you're like ignoring all of Nick's content. He's seething, like he's literally talking about you for like an hour a day. It's very funny how obsessed he is with you. And I mean,
I unsubscribed from him. I mean, you know.
Oh no!
Like,
I mean, 1,000 people are subscribing from him every week. So
the only way I know what he's saying is through your channel. I don't watch.
Well, yeah, because
I don't follow him anymore on Twitter. I don't. You know, it's like, yeah.
I mean, that's the way to do it, right? When you don't care about someone, like the opposite to love is not hate; it's indifference, right?
Something like that.
But yeah, so Nick's going to talk about how bad your channel is, and I did this quick little look today, and he's got about 600,000 views a month. You're doing 800,000. Very nice.
We're doing all right. We're doing
gained
okay.
3,000 this month. Very good.
Yeah, in fact, we're about 400 away from 150,000, so we're getting pretty close. Like 300 away. So I'm very excited about that. So hopefully we're going to hit that before the trial comes to a final end.
Now, Nick was very upset about your statement that you're going to clean your kitchen after this. Can you comment on this? Were you going to clean your kitchen after this video?
Yeah, I did clean my video. I did clean my kitchen.
Well, he said no, so I don't know who.
Why is his eyes so wide? Like he is the most shocking, weird, right? Surprising video he's ever watched. You look at those eyes and you think to yourself, he's seeing something that makes him feel completely aghast. Like, what is going on here, man?
It looks like he knows both how and when someone's going to die. He seems to see a ghost or something. But
also, I have to say, looking at that video, I have lost some weight since then. So
this is an old video, right?
Looking good, Kurt. Yeah, we're doing all right.
He's going to be making arguments about because I think you talk about like how channels are doing and stuff like that in this video. I'm pretty sure like do you know when this was posted? It's like years ago, right, or something like that.
I don't know what videos this is.
All right. Well, we'll continue. I'm not sure if we'll go through the whole 36 minutes because I paused too much, as you may be well aware. But we'll see. We'll see if he has any more funny things to say.
The smile.
Can you hear it?
He reads the chat. It's so disturbing.
Thanks for the super chats as always.
Yeah.
This is the look of a madman. That's a disturbing smile, Kurt. Why do you do that? Like, this is a very normal smile, but look at this smile. What are you doing here? Like you're creeping out the member chat or something. What are you doing?
I don't know, man.
Why is he so obsessed with you? I don't understand this. He's so mad for some reason. All right, we'll continue. What's
it say?
Yeah. Got some nice Lysol kitchen cleaner. You know, I sprayed everything down before I started. Who taught me this recipe? I kind of
I met a man at a crossroads in Georgia, and I offered him my soul, and he said, no, you keep that, and here's a gallon of canola. Go to work.
The fuck is he talking about?
I don't know. Also, you said he was giving me a hard time over Worcestershire sauce?
Yeah, he said 5 squirts was too much or something like that. I don't know.
For the amount of I was doing, well, yeah, it was the add umami flavor, and worked out okay. So maybe he likes less. You do you, I guess. People like more salt or less salt. It's okay.
It's like a matter of taste, right? Because Nick is mad because Kurt has none of Nick's shallow qualifiers for success: dyed hair, beard, manorexia, narcissism. But somehow Kurt surpasses it. You're doing, like I said, you're doing very well. It's very funny to see Nick seethe and talk about how he's an expert on social media, but for some reason he can't just succeed on his own. All right, let's continue.
Box Fort defendant says he's retarded, right? Allegedly, no. Allegedly, this man is intelligent.
I mean, this is a bit rude, isn't it? Because like you're a very analytical guy. Like your legal takes, like, you know, a lot of the case law, and Nick was singing your praises for a very long time up until your betrayal. Why did you do it? Why did you do it, Kurt? Why did you betray Nick? He made you. Why did you do that?
You know, he said that, if I remember correctly, and maybe he'll be upset at me misquoting him, but I'll do my best. He said that he had sent me that thing about not being his friend anymore because I had said that he had promised me money, but I never said that. Right?
Yeah,
for a man who is so precise about his own words and will harangue you if you get a comma in the wrong place because it's not precisely what he said, you think he'd be a little bit more mindful about what other people said. So, yeah.
Do you know? Did you hear what I talked to Farron a little bit the other day? Did you hear what I said about her? Or what she said about Nick?
No.
Well, basically, Farron came back, which is probably a bad idea. Like, she should probably stick to her, like, you know, the normie world. Like, it's probably not a good idea to come into the circle with all the retards again. You know what I mean? The internet's a bit of a funny place. I advise anyone with a real job to kind of stay away. But he literally called her up seething and crying. And she told me that she said to him that, Nick, you know, people are going to figure out that you don't know as much about the law as you think you do. And then he said in a moment of clarity, that's what I'm most afraid of. People learning that I just don't know that much about the law. So, I mean, it's kind of obvious these days, right?
Yeah. You know what would help with that would be like reading legal cases. That would help a lot.
Oh, that's work. You can't expect him to do anything. That's work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why his trial streams are doing so badly. I mean, he's basically just tweeting and watching other people's shows whenever he's trying to pretend to do the trial stream. I mean, and that's what his numbers are reflecting. Going down 10% on week per average, it looks like.
Just by reading various things on the internet.
Oh, I'm
not sure I ever saw this particular recipe. I made it up.
You think you didn't see this particular recipe? What recipe? Did you just go on Better Home and Gardens and they're like, okay, start with 4 pounds of ground up room temperature meat. Just start there and we'll go. No, I've never seen this.
Well, if you like batch cooking, you could definitely use 4 pounds of beef. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I would have multiplied the recipe, you know, that they would have given me. So you can do that. See, if you need more servings, you just take what they say and you can like double or triple it if you need to. Whoa.
This is a completely... you think a man would like allegedly... I mean, well, Nick has never fed his children. He's got Aaron to cut up in the SpaghettiOs cans and everything. But you'd think a man that allegedly cooks for a group of 7 or 8 would know about multiplying.
You would think
recipes.
he would know about batch cooking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the crock pot, but apparently not. I don't know.
Ever seen this recipe online? Yeah, no kidding. It's disgusting.
I made it up. Basically.
No way. This had to be in Betty Crocker's book.
Have you ever tasted Nick's cooking? You've been to his house, right?
One time with just like egg and meat, and I was like, oh.
I don't believe he cooked for me. I don't remember the cooking. We went out.
Did Darren get you the SpaghettiOs as well?
Place.
Oh, pizza's nice. Pizza day.
We went to a pizza place. That was nice.
Pizza day.
I don't remember him actually cooking for me, but I wouldn't swear to it either way.
It's time to question if he can cook at all. I've seen the pictures of the gray slop that he's made. He's eating like Dorito chips in his.
I can say that when I was there was significant clothing that was strewn about in the living room,
and that was before the cocaine arc.
This is going back several years at this point. This has got to be like 4 years ago at this point.
So
there was significant significant unkept laundry in the living room and other places. So yeah.
I was gonna ask. I'm gonna try and keep it a little bit classy. Sorry, it's getting late, but try and keep it a little bit classy.
All right, but the recipe I used before didn't.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You did not see a variant of the recipe that you just used with just egg and meat. That's not true. Nowhere.
How could he know this? Like, I feel like this is an objection, right? Like, it's like objection. He could not know the state of my client's mind. There is no way he can know if Kurt did or did.
He knows all the recipes everywhere. I guess. I don't know.
That's true. He checked every single recipe against ChatGPT. That's his new thing. Is he just talks to ChatGPT? I guess because he can't get any real friends on his show. He has to use the digital Elon ones.
Out there, maybe there is. I don't know. If there is, my fingers need to go in those Chinese finger traps, and I need to have to pee really bad. So I can't like get him out, and so I'm just sitting there going, no, I don't want to piss myself. That's
now. Have you ever used a Chinese finger trap?
Yes.
They're pretty easy to get out of.
Yes.
They're not exact. Like, it's not like magic that you go. It's like you get stuck in them or something. Like, this is what kids think. Like they get stuck in a finger trap. It's like impossible to remove it. No, you just like push it in and pull it out. It's like paper. You can rip them apart as well. What is he talking about? I don't know. This might be another cop of the Denny's thing. Like, there's a lot of fun Nickisms. Have you heard the recent ones?
Not really.
Like,
what else have I been
a cart
missing?
full of Canadians, rapping with a vibrator, all sorts of fun things that don't make any sense to anybody, except if you've got like a brain that looks like Swiss cheese, apparently. But it must be the galaxy gas, right?
That's what has to happen to me. If that recipe exists, if someone can find the recipe, the analog to this, that is just eggs and meat, because that's what he said, I will put my fingers in Chinese finger traps and try and get myself out before I urinate myself.
What?
Call for Worcestershire didn't call for bell pepper, or onion, or garlic.
Just meat and eggs.
So I just kind of made it up.
Yes, he thinks this is comedy.
And then the heavy cream I just happened to have, which was nice.
Yeah, so I just threw it in there.
I could also throw in some barbecue sauce. That would have been good.
Come on, not with heavy cream.
Can you not make wait, heavy cream and barbecue sauce? Why can't you do that? Like barbecue sauce is typically like smoky and hot, right? Like, wouldn't the heavy cream like balance it out?
Yeah, I don't know.
Apparently, this is like completely anathema to the man that lives up in Minnesota. And he likes to role play as a Texan, though.
Have you seen the compilation video that Kate put together, L&D crew dancing to Uptown Funk? I have not seen that. I have not seen that. No.
Funk you up.
Someone have to send that to
Did you
me.
do karaoke with Nick ever?
I did not. No.
Oh.
We got to rewrite Uptown Funk with like Kurt cooking, right?
Okay.
Like, this year, my rice is cold.
Huh?
Got a can of Rotel.
Rotel's awesome.
Old. This here, my rice is cold. Got a can of Rotel that's 2 weeks old.
I have to remind the chat that like this clip comes from the stream entitled Karen Reed Trial Closing Argument Review. So you have your law audience. They're like, oh, it's time for some Karen Reed. They come into this and they see this. They see this. And then he's like, well, I don't understand why people aren't subscribing to my channel. YouTube is suppressing me. I'm being shadow banned and things. Like, it's actually insane. Like, and we're not going to get through this, Kurt. I'm afraid. We're only going to watch a couple of minutes of it. I think I think he's just, I don't know. It's just like he wants to be a bully, but it's not working for him. Like it's very sad, honestly. Like I say things like, I did a little report on his stream analytics, and I was like, well, if he stops talking about Kurt and focuses on the law, he'll probably build a new audience up, right? But then he's like, no, I know more about you because I'm a much bigger YouTuber. Then obviously, this is the correct way to do things. But then he's losing all these numbers because he's just, people tune in and they see this and then they tune out. And people have told me as much.
If whatever Nick is doing right now is the way to get subs, I don't want them.
That's a good stance to have. And this is only one. There's like all these, if you go to the list of clips, I mean, obviously it's kind of, you're taking the principled stance of kind of ignoring this. Like, you're a bigger man than me in this respect. But he's got like these hour-long tirades of against you. If you scroll down and see some of them. Let me see if I can find one. If I just search for Kurt, it'll probably come up.
Why? Why is there so many videos about me What? Why me? Why are there so many videos? Does he not?
He's obsessed with you.
What is going on? What is this? What is this about, man?
I don't know. I think it's because he thinks that it's like punching down, and Nick typically is a bully, and he's described himself as such. So he wants to attack people that he perceives as weaker than him. But the irony is that he's getting less views than you now, by about 20%, and that's because you focus on doing your content. And that's what the rest of this video was. Like he talks about how you're mixing content. Like it's typically a bad idea to mix in like gaming content and cooking things, but it's, it's okay if you can like private them or make them members only or something.
That's why I make them members only after they're done, so they won't hurt my overall.
Yeah, but
exactly
the irony is that Nick is doing the very thing, because he's supposed to be talking about the law, but he's talking about drama, and he's like, well, I'm not a drama channel. It's
feels a little like he might be.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's because he feels powerless, and the only way he can get sort of like his jollies off at this point is to try and attack people. But he's struggling to find anyone that'll actually take the bait. He tried it against Kurt. Sorry, you're Kurt. I'm not used to talking to people. A little bit odd in my own ways. He's tried it with you. He's tried it with Legal Mindset. He's tried it with Sean. He's tried it with everyone that has publicly spoke out against him. And it just hasn't been effective. He tried to scream at Keanu, didn't work as well. Like he's just not getting anything anywhere. But yeah, it's kind of it's a sad thing, right? It's a sad thing.
Yeah, it is sad.
Indeed.
It's like it's like it's the shell of a person.
Mm-hmm.
There were qualities about Nick. The reason I liked him in the first place, that I find something that is admirable, or something I find that is worthy of emulation to some degree. There are aspects of Nick's character or personality that I found to be very interesting, and to see him in this version now of himself, it's like looking at almost like an image of a person, or looking at like
a shell of his former
shell of a person. Yeah, something like that. It's just it's sad. It's like they're not really there, and seeing them in that state makes you feel their loss even more than not seeing them at all in some ways.
Okay, it's getting like, I was just having a bit of jokes and a bit of fun around, but this is actually kind of interesting. It's like, so to speak in like, to talk a little bit, if you want to, I mean, you don't have to talk about it, obviously, but like, because even when the arrest happened, you were still in Rekieta's court, right? Like you were he was like a friend going through a bad time or something.
Sure.
And you were there for him. And then like, he just abandoned you. What, do we want to talk a little about that? Because it's maybe something people don't know about.
Well, he's never been really great with texting with me or calling with me. So like we never were like super close in terms of like friendships or something. We would talk from time to time or text from time to time, but we didn't have like constant contact. But I guess it was like when I don't really know the full story of what happened in his own mind, because he wouldn't tell me. He did send me some text messages where he asked me some questions, which were like very loaded.
For example,
I'm not sure I want to share the exact text message. This was like this was literally the last communication before he said he wasn't his friend anymore. So I don't think it was because of what I said. I think it was because of my reply in his text messages. So he sent me these like 4 messages asking me these like 4 very sort of specific questions, like how can people like think these things? And they were, they're worded in that sort of way that he does, where it's very like exacting and very tricky. And I'm like, and I just simply refused to engage with it. I just simply wrote back, I disagree. And he wrote back something like, okay, thanks. And then it was like the next day where he said the don't ever contact me again message. So it's because I refused to engage with his questions.
So
that's my perception.
Yeah. He just broke off. He could totally torched your friendship because you refused to agree with what he was saying.
Not only that, but it's like I even refused to agree with them because he asked me like these 4 kind of sort of loaded, very carefully worded statement question kind of things. I think it's not only because I refused to.
I mean, I know you don't want to talk too much about it, but could maybe give some sort of idea? It's kind of like a little bit hard to understand.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I can or if I should, what the ethics of that are. I'm trying to give an example, but it's just like the way like he'll say like when he said on with like, it's like, well, you never know what the police will bring into your home, something like that. And then, you know, whoever asked him, so you're saying the police plant evidence? It's like, I never said that. Like that kind of thing where he gives those kind of really like implied statements that imply things, or it's very carefully worded. And it's like, I just didn't want to engage with it.
Okay, this is actually really interesting because like Nick would say that like he'd never burned bridges. Like he's had this complete crazy turnabout of his face. And like even like people like Ethan Ralph, I don't know if you know much about him, but this guy's he's been an interesting character, we'll say, in the sector for a very long time. And like he went hard on Rekieta because Rekieta made fun of a fart he did on stream, basically. People called it like the shot, like everyone thought that Ethan shit his pants or something. And then Ethan went like crazy against Nick, and he was calling his wife like all these terrible things, saying his kids were retarded and things like that. And Nick was willing to bring this man back into his life because he would just be a yes man for Nick, and he would go to the trial and try and harass these Kiwi farmers that were very normal people that just went to see the trial. But then he would have this weird, disgusting man that had to flee his own country to Mexico and shed his pants on live stream. He would rather be friends with this guy that said these horrible things about his wife and his children just because he will sweep for the baldo. But then like you, a guy that was actually his friend and was just brave enough to like, you know, maybe say like, I disagree, or no, would just not engage with him. Then he would just cast you aside. It's just, I think like, Nick seems like he just uses people like they're not people to him. They're just like, you know, what you can do for him is what I'm saying. Do you think anything about that?
I don't know that I can necessarily draw any like. I'll chalk it up to, you know, him going through the stress of everything and all the rest of the thing. It doesn't make the way that he treated me, you know, acceptable, and it doesn't make the statements he's making with respect to this or cancer issues or other issues acceptable. So I mean, you know, I won't, you know, I don't know what it's due to. I don't know if it's due to him exploiting people, or I don't really think it's conscious. I don't think it's like I think it's all just very sort of rote for him.
Okay.
So he's just more instinctual, which I'm not sure what that says about it either way, but you know, that's my perception.
Interesting. Okay. Is there anything you want to get off your chest, like in this whole situation? I mean, you've been pretty close, tight-lipped about it.
I just don't feel like I have a lot to add. I mean, you know, I provided the best quality legal analysis I could. You know, even when I was, you know, in the early videos, I tried to provide good legal analysis about, you know, here's what I think could happen, and here's, you know, what the issues are, and here's how, when we didn't know, like what the search warrant said or things like that, it's like, here's what we might be looking for, here's some potential weaknesses, and trying to provide good quality legal analysis. And then, you know, when the warrants came out, I'm like, I read it, I'm like, oh, I can't really find anything here, responding to, you know, other commentators like Viva Fry and Barnes with their commentary, and like these arguments don't work, they just don't make any sense. So I always try to provide good quality legal analysis, you know, and I try to find something that would work, and I couldn't find it, and there wasn't something there to be found. So I
remember that
I just tried to provide the best opinion I could.
Yeah, there's some people on YouTube, I think, that like it's very easy to tell your audience what they want to hear and monetize them that way.
Yeah.
And then there are the people that want to just, you know, tell the truth, or what they believe is the truth, or their interpretation of the law. And it seems like you're very much in the latter category.
I mean, I found that to be an issue, like even now with the Karen Reed stream, for example, because I have from time to time, you know, said that I think like the judge is right. Now, I don't like her for a lot of reasons. I think she's very biased, but just because she's biased doesn't necessarily mean she's wrong, right? A biased person can still come out with a correct decision. So, you know, I've had to, not frequently, but not necessarily infrequently, say like, oh, the judge is right about this or right about that, or like find things to praise about the prosecutor who I don't like for a lot of reasons, but I'm like, oh, I like him in this way or that way, or I like these things. And so I always try to provide an honest assessment about what I think about various things, and that can be problematic at times. The channels that have better audience capture seem to get better results. So that's
I mean, you're doing like, you look like you're doing pretty
doing
good. I saw
okay.
that you got
not crushing it like some of the channels are, but I'm doing all right.
You had some big streams though. I think it was like Turtle Boy was like 4,000 people.
Yeah, it was good. And Vinny Palantain from Court TV, that was a really good stream. And we've had some really good streams, and hopefully I'm going to be on with Melanie Little on Monday. That'll be good, and we'll have some fun there. So all the rest of it. But I still hope that in the end that Nick will be able to recover from this and come out the better side of it, for himself and his children.
I think I agree with that. Like, I just don't see it happening. Like, people have said it, like if Nick just stops being retarded, then there'll be nothing for us to make fun of, and we'll stop talking about him. If he's upset that people aren't, saying he's the best thing since sliced bread, just stop being dumb. Be conscientious, put in your show, put in the work, and you'll get, maybe you won't be able to win back the old audience, but you could certainly get a new audience. But Nick
nothing wrong with pivoting to something new. So it's good to change things up from time to time anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm looking forward to this live stream being over so I can go back to daily edited videos for a while. I'll tell you what, doing this 30 days in a row, it gets a little tiring doing it every day. I'm a little tired.
I tried doing one day. I tried to walk a day in the shoes of the law tubers by drinking and watching the trial stream, and I crashed out and got drunk, and I was having a bad time. I can't do it. I can't. It's too boring for me. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
There are certainly some cases are very interesting, and the recaps and some of the Johnny Depp, for example, is incredibly interesting. But their regular trial stream is just not for me.
Yeah. Well, that's really all I have to say. So I'll let you get back to your stream. But thank you for having me on for a little while.
No worries. It was. It seemed like you wanted to kind of get some stuff off your chest, and honestly, it was very illuminating. It seems like you were nothing but a good friend to Nick, and he just cast you aside when you ceased being useful to him. Like someone in the chat said, what do friends mean to Nick? 100+ viewers on his live stream.
Yeah. Also, I saw recently where I thought what you did a reaction video where I was talking about the history of LawTube and talking about the conflicts of Johnny Depp, and he was saying, well, there was no drama. I'm like, well, maybe that from your point of view, but I think there were drama from other people. I think other people had drama with respect to what happened with Johnny Depp and sharing things. I think there was definitely some fallout and stuff like that.
Nick doesn't like to admit it, but his channel has always largely been a drama channel. It started with Maddox versus what was his name, Dick Masterson, and that was just airing out dirty laundry and stuff like that. Then he went to Russell Greer, and even back in the Vic Mignogna days, he brought in Ron Toye's divorce proceedings into the streams purely because he wanted to inject drama into these this defamation lawsuit, which is very funny to see that he's actually in his own defamation lawsuit now. Do you have any thoughts about the Montegraph case? Have you seen that?
I haven't really dug into it in any depth. To be honest, what little I've covered, what little I've seen doesn't look promising on initial inspection for Nick. But I, won't come out with a firmer opinion until I can really get into it, which I'm not sure I really want to at this point, because I'm not sure I can be bothered to dive into the Baldo universe. I think I'm just going to tap out of that one and look for other pastures on this one. There's a lot of cover, so I'll just cover something else, unless the body cam coverage comes out, or maybe I'll cover the cases relating to that. So as the lawsuits get filed back or forth,
the Matthew Hardin stuff does look very interesting.
Yeah, I'll cover that.
Before you go, though, there are a couple of things I wanted some people said. So Kurt is looking good. You have lost some weight. So
I've lost something like 70 pounds from peak.
Oh, good for you.
So I'm down at I'm down at 320s right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was peaked out at 395 or something like that, and right now I'm at 325 or give or take. So I'm down about 70 pounds.
Kurt has integrity. Yes, when you're describing the way you describe the law, it sounds like you have not just going to tell people what they want. You're going to tell them what you believe to be the case in your best interpretation of the law. Also, we got one other from Potentially Criminal. Did Nick ask Kurt to make SpaghettiOs?
They did not. No.
Okay.
No SpaghettiOs.
All right. Thanks. Do you want to tell us where they can find you? What you're covering in the future? Anything like that?
Sure. You can find me at the channel Uncivil Law on all the places, principally YouTube. And by the way, I would appreciate it if you drop by and give a sub. As I mentioned a little earlier, we're only 300 subs away from that 150 subscriber milestone. So that would be really cool. And then, of course, when we're also going to be doing Supreme Court coverage at some point in the near future. 6 cases dropped on Thursday. So I have to cover those cases. And June is the time for Supreme Court opinions. So some really interesting ones coming out pretty soon. That one dealing with universal injunctions will probably be coming out at some point this month. That's going to be really interesting for a lot of reasons. And then, of course, we've got some daily edited videos, and then eventually we'll go into like Coburger and stuff like that. So,
oh, good. I'm
check
interested
us
in
out
Coburger.
at Uncivil Law.
Yeah. I might have to ask you some questions on that. I was like, that was one of the first few streams I did that really popped off. I was talking about the Coburger mystery back when we didn't even know the name for the guy, right? It was those 4 people. I've heard there's some very interesting developments in that case, actually. I think Andrea Burkhart's been carrying it a lot. Yeah,
Andrea's been covering. She's a good source of stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. I don't really have the best understanding of it, but I feel a little dubious on the state's case. So I'm very interested in seeing how it develops. It feels a little thinner than I'd like for the quadruple knife murder. I'd like a little bit more ideally, but maybe there's more when we get into it. So I'm looking forward to watching it to see how my own perceptions develop.
Okay. Well, then just one more question, I guess, before you go. To kind of end things on a positive note, what sort of law tubers do you like to watch, if any? Or what sort of channels are you kind of into recently, out of curiosity?
Well, I watch Runkle the Bailey a lot. He's a good friend of mine. I watch Nate the Lawyer a lot. He's also a very good friend of mine. He lives nearby, so we actually hang out a lot in person. And he provides me good recommendations on things to do in LawTube. So like I'm going to try to like do a little bit more of what he's doing in sort of that format, because that's been a lot successful for him. So he's talked to me a lot about that. So I'm going to try to implement some of that. But those are the channels I watch a lot. And then Andrea Burkhart, of course, from time to time, because she's very thorough. Yeah, that's the things that come to mind.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks for popping in. Been very interesting.
Right. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right, cheers. See ya. Oh, well, that was interesting. A little bit of a change, wasn't it? Obviously, I was a bit jokey, but then it seemed like Kurt wanted to have a serious conversation. So I hope I was able to transition between the two different styles, and people enjoyed that. I thought it was nice to have a little bit of a different pace, and really quite sad, honestly, to see just how Nick would treat someone that was honestly trying to be his friend. Obviously, while I would disagree that maybe he deserves such a loyal friend, it is nice to see that. Not nice to see, but it's very interesting for me to see that Nick claims that everyone betrayed him, and it was all they're just snaking him for no reason. But you can clearly see that just is not the case. And Kurt is just one of many people that likely had similar situations with Nick, where they were very reasonable to him, like Yellow Flash, and then he's just like, well, why don't you go die, Yellow Flash, or whatever, or like all of his other friends. We'll go through these super chats, and maybe we'll watch a couple more minutes, because I like to leave things on like a note of a bit of brevity or something. Not brevity, but levity. Levity is what I'm thinking of. So we might watch a little bit more of Nick coping at the cooking stream, but I will get through these chats. I think I got the ones that were relating to Kurt. Tuesret says, trying to make Kurt kitchen seem worse than when the body cam comes out. Maybe. There's no way it can be worse. Like, Kurt's kitchen's clean. He said he cleaned it. Okay. People mix mayo and ketchup and barbecue sauce all the time. Yeah, I know. I do too. We have a lot of mayo over here too. Super Ironbog says, Nick has absolutely pre-watched this and is trying to do a reaction as a stand-up set. I believe you 100%. He watched this. He thought it would be a real banger. He was talking to himself in the shower about all the things he would say. But then he tried to do it live and it didn't work. Hence the manic overacting and absolute failure to be funny or insightful. Well, Nick thinks he's very funny, but he's not. His situation's funny though. Scarebro says Nick is stuck in a high school mentality that if he isn't a loser, if there's a bigger loser than him, I think I agree with that. I think that's why he's attacking people that he perceives as weaker. But the irony, as we said, was that these channels are doing better than Nick. Many such cases. Robert Lawrence says, gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Scooby-Doo Roro says, because Nick is secretly in love with you, Kurt. Oh, we missed this one. He wants you to fill the hole left by Aaron. He does always seem to have a male crush in his life, doesn't he? Robert Glock says, Uncivil does not want to talk about Rekieta and give Rekieta more fuel. It's good stance. Like, it's more principled than the stance I'm taking where I just make fun of Nick. Ask Uncivil Law why he threw his integrity away to help destroy the life of 3 orphan girls. We did cover this one. Obviously, it's a jokey question, but thank you for the 10. Dragon's Treasure says, many such cases of believing in Nick, then witnessing the largest downfall ever. I mean, it probably is one of the biggest crash out downfalls ever. He went from 100,000 people to 1,000 people. I mean, he literally lost 99% of his audience. I don't know anyone else has done that, apart from people who have literally died. Largest downfall ever in the section of YouTube. Everyone else is thriving. Now, this is actually part of this video, is he talks about, because I did pre-watch this as well, to see if it was worth showing. Nick talks in this about, he goes on to a rant about Nate the lawyer and YouTube analytics and stuff. And that was the part that interested me because I'm a bit of a nerd for that sort of stuff. But there's a part, I think, in this part here, where he says, like, Kurt talks about how the views have kind of tapered off since Johnny Depp, which was always going to happen. And then Nick says that he stopped streaming, and that's why it happened. It's because he stopped being a presence, and then everyone else couldn't survive without him. But that's clearly not the case. Obviously, there were some channels that didn't make it along the way, but so many people are thriving and doing much better than Nick ever did. Emily DeBaker, Nate the lawyer, Legal Mindset. These people are all, at this point, higher than Nick really ever was. Apart from that one thing of having 100,000 live people watching concurrently, that was a really remarkable achievement. It was kind of a bit of a serendipitous event, I think. It's unlikely he can ever recreate it. Of course, an evidence of knowledge is, or ability is being able to reproduce results in something. And unfortunately, Nick just cannot do that with his previous results. He's giving this advice and he's saying that he's an expert. But if that's true, why can't he just make the thing good? He's begging people for views and it's not working. Also, Dragon's Treasure, I should mention, is a show sponsor, where if you go to thedragonstreasure.com, you can order some delicious tea. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Thedragonstreasure.com. Use code COPE. They've got soap, I believe, now, coffee, tea, and you get a sweet 10% discount only at the Dragon's Treasure. All right. Now, where were we? Did I get this one? Yeah, I did get that one. Kurt C leaks DMs with his faceless feet. I don't know what you mean by this, Scarecrow. Sorry. Pedro H says Rekieta is 4 things. Or what could that be? And also Scarecrow said Nick intentionally frustrates people so they leave. It's his fault. Things just happen to him. Yeah. Nick is just that chick who's had every boyfriend has been like an asshole, and she just can't find a good man. That's what's happening here. All right, let's get back to a couple more minutes of this. I was going to end off the shot, but I want to see something funny. I want to have another bit of a giggle because we did have a bit of a heavy segment, and I try and keep these a little bit light, even though we typically go over pretty dark subject matter.
I don't even want to figure out the rest of those lyrics. I get depressed. No, he rubs his eyes like a toddler.
Oh, I'm tired.
How come I don't use my soundboard?
Imagine touching your face on stream. A man that beat himself off on stream. Well, I'm sorry, poked his leg off stream. Oh my goodness. He's touching his face. He's sleepy.
More?
Don't.
Because, by the way, like he's got this weird tick where he puts his fingers in his mouth. Have you noticed this? Like I do like the grab the chin sort of thing, and that's what Nick's kind of doing here. But he actually starts putting his fingers in his mouth on certain streams, especially when he was on drugs or when he was drinking. It's like he's missing his mother's teeth or something.
Because soundboards sound dumb. Who is he smirking at? Wipe that smirk off your face right now, young man.
I don't.
This is outrageous. You're not allowed to be happy in Rekieta's world unless you give his permission.
No, really, the answer to the question why I don't use the soundboard more.
Because it sounds juvenile and silly. Your show isn't silly. This is what bothers me. Kurt isn't silly or funny, and he shouldn't try to be. I told him this a million times. I'm like, hey, Kurt, don't try to be funny. You're not. He's like,
Nick has never heard about dry humor, apparently.
What? And I'm like, no, those jokes aren't good. You should just be like really sharp on the Constitution and on constitutional law. That's what you're good at.
The meetup was fine. We had a good time. It was a good event.
The meetup is what you call your casserole.
I'm happy.
What? What's the deal with meetups? That's what I call my casserole. Like, well, thank the comedy stylings of Rekieta Feld. Holy shit. Oh my god, what the fuck is he talking about? These Nickisms are so funny. Not because they're actually funny, but because he's like just trying to understand how his brain works.
With my style. I'm happy with what I've got. I was talking to Nate.
Loving is what I got. He's happy with his style.
Good.
His style is, I'm going to stretch out the collar of this shirt.
He's fat.
I stole Philip Seymour Hoffman's hair after he died.
Huh?
And then the rest of me is just a horrific mess with an Apple Watch. It's great.
Hey, Philip Hoffman, isn't that the guy that played Troy McClure, Simpsons? Like, don't bring that. Come on, F's in chat for that. That guy's a legend. Or was that Philip Hartman? Sorry, I'm missing it.
about like changing the way it's organized, like
Not good with
internally.
names.
Because Nate has basically modified the IRAC format from law school, issue, rule, analysis, conclusion, that we were all taught in law school. And he's basically modified that format slightly for his channel.
Great.
And so we were talking about that because Nate and I talk a lot. Nate and I talk like at least probably at least once a week, and more realistically 2 or 3 times a week. Nate and I are really close. We're the closest. Well, let me put it this way: he is my closest friend within the LawTube genre. So I can't speak to his relationships with other people, but he's my closest just by the amount of time we talk. So Nate the lawyer and I are really close, and we talk like 2 or 3 times a week.
See, now this is funny. Potentially Criminal says, meetup. Nick takes his kids to a beat up. That's a whoa buddy. That's a good one though. That works a lot better actually. Heather Sparrow says, Legal Vice has got his start with Nick. Still miss that morning fix with him. Nick is trash. I mean, this is kind of accurate, but I think it's important to mention that it was Legal Mindset that found Jeff, and then he kind of introduced him to the entire sphere. Of course, Legal Mindset's debut did happen on the channel, I believe the Rekieta show, but it was literally Legal Mindset that found him, was like, look, you have to get online. And he was so right. And yeah, I miss Jeff too. It was hard to believe. It was very hard to believe. It makes you really think about making the most of what you have, because Jeff was always talking about coming over to visit me in Japan. I got over to Korea to visit him once in November, but he was supposed to come like 2 years ago, and he didn't. There was a delay because of a typhoon, and then I was like, well, just come next month or something, it'll be fine, I can make some time. And he was like, well, no, I gotta work. And then it was always work. And then finally he had made time to come visit in March. Was it March? No, it was March. It was March this year. And then he never got the opportunity to come over. And me and Andrew were going to meet up with him. We were going to go to like cigar bar or something, show him around town. But Jeff was always working. And part of that is like, while that part of that is sad, part of that is also, part of his work was like spending time with his audience. And to him, that was like the most important thing that he was doing on almost a day-to-day basis. Like when I went to see him, we went to a restaurant, we got some barbecue, it was delicious. And then he was like, oh, can we stream tonight? And I was like, I'm a little bit tired from the ferry. And he's like, no, it'll be great. Come on, let's do it. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then he was immediately on his phone setting up the stream link. And like the restaurant was right next to his apartment, so it wasn't like a strenuous thing. We went up, we had some whiskey drinks, and then we had a great stream with him, Steph, and Aussie Overlord Hayden. But he was just so excited, like that, like he really enjoyed. Like for me, I like streaming; it's a lot of fun. But I kind of get like exhausted from it. Like after a stream, I kind of have to chill out, and maybe I just go do some quiet stuff for a while. But Jeff was always thinking for that next stream, and he just loved spending almost every waking moment up until like the early hours of the morning with his audience. And yeah, Jeff was a good guy, and I miss him a lot. So sorry that. Not sorry, but you know what I mean. We all kind of felt the loss, and I hope there's something still in that gap for you now.
About strategy and YouTube and things like that.
To those 3 ladies.
And we were talking today. I was talking about some of the stuff behind the scenes that I've shared with you as well, about how I'm using like ChatGPT to help me create modifications of YouTube titles to try to get better titles, and how I'm trying to use ChatGPT to create image prompts for Midjourney, and having some success with that. And
I love using ChatGPT for image prompts. I think I'm having some success with it too. I didn't notice any of like
Nick's AI attempts are so bad, and you notice how his entire channel is turning piss yellow. Like this is something weird that's happening with AI. See how everything is like piss yellow? This is like a weird thing that's happening. But like if you go down to Nick's channel, like down here, back before he was using AI, it was green. And then progressively, there's something that's happened. I don't know. This is like not just a Nick thing. This is an AI trend. But look, this is his first stream with the AI, thumbnails. It's like green and red. Okay. And it slowly all becomes piss. You notice this? It's kind of an interesting analogy for Nick's career, I think. But like, it's getting more and more and more yellow. The AI just can't not make things piss yellow for some reason. It takes like 5 seconds to make a thumbnail too. So I don't know why he thinks this is so productive. I mean, it's certainly not getting him more views. So I don't know why I think he's just lazy.
Hurts stuff having ChatGPT generated content in it. I need to go watch for it now.
So we were talking about that a little bit. And he was talking about, his format that he uses and how he really gets a lot of
it's riveting
sponsorship deals that are very valuable to him. I'm like, well, I need to give him something.
I mean, if it's so it's obviously the implication it's boring. If it's so boring, just stop watching it. But he can't. He's addicted to it. He has to keep watching. All right, let's skip to somewhere else. This is actually getting a bit long though. So let's skip it. We'll see if we can find any gems, but we might close out in just a few minutes.
That you put a lot of time and effort into, and it becomes a dilemma of YouTubers. And this is an honest moment. All
right, Nick's gonna give us some straight YouTube advice. Let's see what he has to say.
You find out that doing these highly edited videos, they're really hard to motivate yourself to get started doing them because you put in a bunch of work to edit them and make them like really crisp or whatever. And then you put out some barely clipped video that says,
that's called deferred gratification. You put the work in and get paid later. This is how most jobs and most people go throughout their lives. Most people don't turn on a live stream and then have people throw money at them. Okay. That's a very privileged thing. It's not so much a dilemma as it is just understanding the concept that you put work in first and then get paid later in most professions. And honestly, that is typically the most profitable thing you can do on YouTube. Obviously, live streaming is very profitable for many people. And for Nick, it was very profitable. But the bread and butter for YouTube is still advertisement from long form videos or stream replays. And this is, again, this requires work, which Nick cannot understand. So when he thinks a highly edited video, he's talking about clipping his live streams, trying to double dip on work that he's already done. And he gets somebody else to do that in the first place.
Lawyer screams at biased judge, and that thing goes way better.
Although this is true though. Sometimes you just sometimes the random things you make pop off in a weird way, and that can be frustrating, I will admit.
Than your edited video that you put a lot of time and effort into. And it becomes this weird judgment call each time. Like, do I bother putting in all the extra work, or do I just generate more content and wait for something to go viral? I mean, some of these videos that I put out,
I mean, it's the question of whether you go to McDonald's or you go to a steak restaurant. McDonald's makes a lot more money than steak restaurants, but steak is a higher quality product. Depends what you're put about, and there's no real right answer here. You can do either. You will notice that a lot of people have been gravitating towards streaming because it's frankly easier than doing this edited content. And I myself am guilty of this. So this channel, I used to do a lot more highly edited videos. Then I kind of fell into streaming and I kind of enjoyed it. But I have other channels where I can do highly edited things. So it's about finding the perfect balance for you. But a good channel should have some live streams, some shorts, and some long form content. And it seems like Nick is trying to do that now. That's why he's begging people for views.
2 years ago or whatever, like the Theodore Edgecombe expert witness video or the Dr.
Well, Nick has got to cope for this, by the way. So when he was doing this video, he was typing in chat as well. And he was saying like, well, knowing what to do is not the same thing as doing it, which is just like saying, well, joke's on you, I'm pretending to be retarded. So, okay. Congratulations, I guess.
Legal video from Johnny Depp. Like they'll randomly pick up 5,000-10,000 views out of nowhere, and so they'll pop up into my little thing like, this video is performing high. It's like, what the fuck? I released that years ago. But all of a sudden you look at it, and the amount of views that they get is an overtime thing, but that's the critical part, is finding out how to make these videos hit over time and not be these short instant hit videos. And that's what Nate's really good at. That's what Attorney Tom is really good at. It's called evergreen content. And having a cycle of that content that's just going to get
I do a lot of evergreen content. I find it a lot more relaxing than streaming, to be honest. Although, like Nick says, you do have to put work in first. But there's something really fun about having like a really successful evergreen video pop off, and then for like years down the line, there's lots of views coming in for it. But Nick can't find any time to work because he's too busy watching Milton stream for 5 hours a day. So I don't think he'll be experiencing any of that evergreen content for quite a while.
Picked up by the algorithm every now and then is really, really important. But it's hard to justify like putting together a video like I hate him, but Legal Eagle has a great production team, right? And that production team puts together a solid fucking video, and he gets these 2 million view videos all the time, and it's great.
Nick hates Legal Eagle. He's actually starting his Legal Eagle arc. This is what he's doing here. He's Legal Smeagol. Legal Schmeagol. Is he wearing a suit? He's not streaming today, right? Because it's like a Saturday, I guess. It's Saturday morning for you guys, isn't it? It's Saturday morning for me now. It's like 12:30 a.m. I'm going to go to bed soon. I've got to wake up and do riot streams tomorrow. That's going to be fun.
But if you do that or I do that, we're not getting 2 million views on those videos. That's not happening.
Maybe you aren't, Nicky boy.
You put in all this extra work, or you like, heaven forbid, you hire an editor like Ryan to try and put in all this extra work into the video, and then there's all for naught. And then you clip something out, and it gets up with 900,000 views. Like the Dr. Spiegel clip that I have is his cross-examination or whatever is something like 900,000 views. That video's made over $5,000 over the course of its life. And barely any work went into it other than just clipping and putting it together and clipping out dead space.
Okay, that's interesting. Let's go to Nick's channel for a second. So that's a video. We'll go to popular. Johnny Depp, accountant. Where is that guy? He said 900,000 views. So it must be this one, right? It's this guy, right? Like Depp lawyer shreds Amber Heard's expert on the stand. He throws a fit. 1 hour video, 800,000 views. Oh no, is it this one? This one's 900,000. 3 minute long. Okay, that's why. I was going to say, if this was an hour-long video, this one should be much higher than $5,000. But if it's like a 3 minute video, 900,000 views, $5,000, yeah, that sounds about right. Especially in the legal sphere. It's kind of crazy how much, like I said, it's kind of crazy. Because like, this is like maybe 5 times what Nick would expect to get on a regular stream. And it's just like a 3 minute clip.
Right? But there's not like a bunch of fancy transitions and citations and like infographics coming up. It's just Dr. Spiegel being a complete douchebag in the Johnny Depp trial. It was great. But you get stuck in this YouTuber's dilemma of like, do I make high quality content or do I make high volume content that people...
Nick is kind of explaining here actually that he just doesn't understand how to make successful content. He's just like, well, sometimes things just pop off and I have no idea how it happens. So you don't know how to reproduce these results. And it may just be luck or good timing or just a generally funny moment.
Want to see and what goes viral and what takes off.
One man's slop is another man's 4-course meal, right? Yeah, I mean, definitely agree that there's some sort of middle ground between like the steak dinner and the McDonald's dinner. You do neither? This just simply is not true. Maybe you don't see all the content I make, but I am very good at getting repeatable results, especially in evergreen content. I'm a much worse streamer, honestly.
And it's a tough choice.
I'm a little bit disappointed with the numbers on my edited videos, sometimes only getting a couple hundred or low thousands. The daily morning live streams have been really good though. 250, 300 people watching. We've been getting good memberships from people. People buy memberships. Been getting good super chats. People seem to like them. So the morning stream is good. And also it's good to have a regular thing. So I've been a little bit disappointed with the edited videos and their performance. Some of them will get like 3,000. I think occasionally like a 5,000, but the numbers are not anywhere where I'd want them to be. You know,
Nick is currently arguing with people in his own chat about how because someone has correctly this is why he looks upset. Someone has correctly pointed out that it's like, well, Nick, if you're such an expert, how come your views aren't getting higher? And then in fact, getting lower. And then this is when he's coping and seething and saying like, well, doing is not the same as knowing. Like, well, you really taught them, Nick. Good job.
So
just keep making stuff. You got to just keep making stuff. Make it. My video from a couple days ago, me screaming at Keanu, did well. It's like 20,000 views.
Make it better.
We'll see how it goes, as time goes on. I don't know if it'll keep trending upward. Things on my channel have been kind of capping out around 20,000 views lately. That seems to be the ad buy that YouTube
some of the
sells.
other videos that some other people do. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe
Nick seems to have an incorrect opinion of how YouTube actually works here. It's not an ad buy that's like serving your content. It's kind of like the ads are served on content that is already being put out. It's kind of a weird, I think he's either got a very antiquated notion of how the advertisement works on real-time videos rather than live streams. And this may be because he took a year break. This is like, honestly, it's not really his fault that he doesn't know this. He's been out of the game for a while. And maybe this is the cognitive dissonance that he's experiencing, is that he does have a history of success, but he's unable to repeat the success in the common day. And that is just the fact that YouTube's changed in the time that he's been AFK, under mountains of white powder.
And so then what I hope for is that they'll catch another ad buy and another ad buy.
And not as produced with the transitions and stuff like that.
That's just not how YouTube serves out content. It's not ad buys. They serve ads on all content regardless. What they do is they show videos to people, And if enough people have a high enough engagement rate, whatever their threshold is, and nobody really knows that the actual threshold are, but if enough people like the video, they show it to people that are similar to those people, and it keeps going until it reaches a rate where either it explodes and goes viral because it's so relatable to a large group of people, or it diminishes because the wider audiences are not receiving it as well. In that case, it doubles down your content and it sends it to more people. They kind of locks you into an ecosystem of these small niche fan base. I don't know what he means by ad buys. Maybe he's just using the wrong terminology here, but I guess this is probably more interesting to me than it is to you.
If I had to put it on anything, it'd probably be due to the.
We'll skip to a little bit. Let's see what the end says. Because Alyssa usually leaves something good in the end. We'll watch the last minute of this to see what Nick is seething about. But he seems to have a completely incorrect view of how the ad system actually works. Even demonetized channels and videos that are limited get views. If Nick was saying was correct, then those videos would not get any views at all. Now, it's true they get diminished views, but the fact that it's just not what he's saying is just not the case. His content is going out to a small group of people that it resonates with, but when his content is pushed out to people outside his bubble, they don't resonate with it, and that's why it's being locked into his fan base, and that seems to be his market penetration. Around 20,000 people or 20,000 views. A view is not an actual, like a whole video view. Typically, like one click is one view, but they have to watch a certain percentage of a video. Hold on, why isn't this working? Refresh. Come on now.
News lately, that seems to be.
Right.
There's
last minute.
There's some minor evidence that you can explain some things involving the Supreme Court. Oh my gosh, there's so much of this.
The academic class.
Academics, please
so maybe
respond.
It will increase the probability that some law professor, some dean out there will see my stuff and think it's good and want to hire me as a law professor. So having the
Nick
academic stuff
in chat.
where I'm discussing the Supreme Court stuff and trying to explain that hopefully demonstrates that I'm a good teacher. And maybe it will wind up in me getting a job as an academic professor.
That's an interesting idea.
This is the most unreal chain of thought I can imagine having.
So maybe.
All right, wait a second. Let him cook. Let him cook. So Kurt's saying, like, I want to do YouTube. I'm going to get attention, and maybe I can transition into a legal professor role, because I think at this time Kurt was really struggling with his channel. He's doing much better now, but he was kind of on that threshold of like being stuck under 100K or something. I believe that's the time frame for this. But Nick is like, the idea of somebody getting offered a position as a teacher from a YouTube content is utterly ridiculous. Interesting thesis, Nick. Now let's see what he says next.
I was on YouTube and
maybe that's what the payoff is.
Figure maybe
in the end,
maybe someone will see me and hire me as a professor at a law school. Kurt, I've watched you drink 15 shots of liquor.
Maybe the Attorney General. Maybe the governor of Texas.
Okay, I was going to make fun of this, and then I realized that the Libertarian Party of Minnesota did ask me to run for Attorney General. Speaking of people who...
Oh, so everything he said was wrong. Spoiler alert. Well, that's a ridiculous situation. I could not believe. Like, what do you think? People are going to see your videos and then, oh, wait, actually, someone offered me that position. So it is actually reasonable, although it's only for the Lobotarians, so maybe not so much. All right, guys. Camera's broke. I got to go to bed. I had fun tonight. It was an interesting stream. We just wanted to go over the news and laugh at Nick, and then we had kind of a serious moment with Kurt. I think it was a nice mix of content. I know Kurt's not for everyone, but I really enjoyed talking to him for a few minutes. Dolby with a 5 says, how to YouTube expert advice from the junkie lolcow who snorted his success away. This is what Nick is realizing, I'm afraid. Nick is realizing that he was successful. He did have it all, and now he's losing everything. That's the chase, right? He's trying to chase the dragon, but he's not getting those YouTube views and success. And with that, I guess Nick didn't stream tonight, so I'm allowed to play this song. I will see you guys tomorrow morning in approximately, let's say 9 hours from now. I'll be streaming again. The last day of the, not last day, but we'll be watching from Riot streams tomorrow. Smaller stream, should be fun, just chilling and laughing at people. All right, peace, guys. Have a good one. And Baldo ain't streaming tonight.
It's almost 11 and there's still no stream, and Baldo ain't streaming tonight. It's almost 11 and there's still no stream, Baldo ain't streaming tonight. no stream. And Baldo ain't streaming tonight. It's 1 minute past 11, and there's still no stream. And Baldo ain't streaming tonight. It's already 11, and there's still no stream. And Baldo ain't streaming tonight. It's no longer 11, and there's still no stream. And Baldo ain't streaming tonight.